The story begins with a man and a woman who are surrounded by a horde of monsters. With the woman unconscious, the man wondered if he would die in a place like this with his body covered in wounds. However, his survival instincts were so strong that he decided to fight to the death, refusing to die in such a place. Later in a prison in City Z, a man named Zuo Fan was seen visiting his father who was imprisoned. Zuo Fan told his father that he was currently 18 years old, and he wanted to claim his father's promise that he would tell all the truth about the monster wave disaster that occurred 8 years ago when Zuo Fan was old enough. He also said that he would clear all charges and clear his father's name. It is said that 8 years ago in S City there was a monster wave outbreak that became the biggest disaster in Chinese history, and his father named Zuo Hui became the only survivor of that big disaster. An investigation was carried out, and afterward, his father was deemed a traitor who neglected his duty because he did not appear during the outbreak. But considering his many years of meritorious deeds for the country, he has been sentenced to a 10-year stay of execution. This had impacted Zuo Fan's life, where he for the past 8 years had lived as the son of a traitor and was often the object of ridicule by others. Zuo Fan had only survived so far because he had faith in his father and he would continue to try to clear his father's name. But his father actually told him to leave City Z and change his name to start a new life, because it would not be easy to live life as the son of a traitor. Zuo Fan still could not accept that his father was a traitor because he trusted his father so much. When he came out of the prison, the guard said that his visit fee would be tripled, just because he was the son of a traitor. Zuo Fan was wondering in his heart, how could someone who had endangered himself and made countless contributions to the country actually be considered a traitor? Thus, Zuo Fan was determined to find out the truth. Zuo Fan has been working as a Starfall mercenary for a few years in order to survive, and you could say that he only has enough money for his daily needs. This was because Zuo Fan was just a low-status Starfall warrior reserve. The only thing of value to him is a necklace his mother gave him made of meteor fragments from the night of the Starfall, to go to the mercenary guild to earn more money for his daily needs, as well as expenses for visiting his father in prison. When Zuo Fan arrived at the mercenary guild hall, many people there kept mocking him for his low status, as he was considered a curse for being the son of a traitor. Zuo Fan didn't care about it at all, as he was used to hearing about it, and then went to his Uncle Gao's office and asked for an E-rank mission, which Zuo Fan found extremely dangerous given the fact that he was still a reserve soldier with low status. Although at first the uncle refused to give Zuo Fan an E-rank mission, in the end he gave an E-rank scout mission to Zuo Fan. Zuo Fan agreed to join the mission, and when he got there, he met a party led by a beautiful woman named Mu Yinyue. From the weapon she was holding, which had a monster core in it, Zuo Fan could tell that the woman was a mid-level warrior who should be extremely strong. The monster core itself was a crystal contained within a monster, while the Starfall equipment was a piece of equipment made using a monster core, and it was the weapon Mu Yinyue used. When Zuo Fan introduced himself, just then came the arrogant man named Mu Jie, mocked Zuo Fan as mere monster bait. A person with white hair surnamed Mu intervened in their argument. After that, Zuo Fan was given a contract letter as a way to test his eligibility, and they accepted Zuo Fan after seeing his ability in person, who managed to capture the contract paper that had been made extremely hard by injecting their power. After Zuo Fan had seen the contents of the contract, he very carefully followed the mission, considering that he was the weakest in the party. At this time, Zuo Fan was already in X City's monster lair, and he saw a lot of E-rank fish lizard monsters. When Zuo Fan aimed at the fish lizard with an arrow, the arrow aimed at the fish lizard bounced off, and thanks to that the fish lizards got angry and started chasing it. That was Zuo Fan's main job, to serve as bait to lure the monsters towards him. Zuo Fan ran with all his might to get to where his party was gathering. By the time Zuo Fan arrived, the fish lizards also arrived, and at the same time, the rest of the party started to block their advance, and calmly and gracefully slashed at every single fish lizard that was in sight. When they had finished killing all the monsters, at that time there was one half-body fish lizard that was still able to move forward to attack them. The cunning Mu Jie pushed Zuo Fan's body to make him his body shield. Zuo Fan quickly avoided the attack and managed to shoot arrows into the lizard's eyes, and in the end, Yin Yue managed to kill the lizard. At the same time, Zuo Fan's necklace suddenly issued a strange notification, stating that their first E-rank hunt was successful. That night, while Zuo Fan was on guard, Yin Yue came up to him, and at that moment the ground they were standing on shook, and they fell onto the ground together. Above them, it was seen that someone who was the mastermind behind this was peering down at them. They fell onto the subway tracks, and Zuo Fan knew that it was more than 20 meters deep, and they searched the place looking for a way out. Yin Yue, who had a keen hearing, heard a movement from the other direction, which turned out to be a group of fish lizards. Yin Yue told Zuo Fan to back off. She thought that he would definitely be a burden. Yin Yue used her technique to annihilate all the fish lizards with agility and dazzling technique. Just like before, there was one lizard with only half a body that was still able to move towards Zuo Fan. But luckily this time he managed to stab him dead, and the notification once again popped up, telling him he had killed another E-rank monster. After killing all the fish lizards, they continued their journey to find a new path. But at that time, they found a dead end. Zuo Fan knew that it was closed from the outside, but Yin Yue, who was suspicious of Zuo Fan, directly pointed her sword at Zuo's neck. Zuo Fan himself was confused about what Yin Yue meant, and because of that, Yin Yue finally knew that the culprit was not Zuo Fan, thinking that all this had been set up by someone who wanted to take him down. Zuo Fan also knew that there must be strife in the Yin Yue family, which is a starfall family whose motto is that the strong survive, while the weak die. As is known, the starfall family will hold a test to hunt monsters and face enemies from their own family. Meanwhile, Zuo Fan looked for another, if not conspicuous, exit, and they ran on until they found an exit, only to see arrows heading their way. Yin Yue quickly protected Zuo Fan, who was still exhausted, but Zuo Fan immediately knew that it was a poison arrow, so he immediately pulled out the arrow stuck in Yin Yue's body. Zuo Fan looked over and saw that Uncle Hanhu and the rest of the party had betrayed Yin Yue. The trait of betrayal had already coagulated in Hanhu's body just for the sake of getting rich. Without waiting for long, he pressed a button that made the place where Yin Yue and Zuo Fan were standing explode. They apparently wanted to make Zuo Fan the scapegoat who caused the Mu family's daughter to be killed while hunting the monster den. Zuo Fan and Yin Yue actually managed to return to their original place when they were trapped underground when a group of fish lizards came, because they smelled Yin Yue's blood. She told Zuo Fan about her uncle's plan to put all the blame for Yin Yue's death on Zuo Fan. Zuo Fan knew that he had to get out of there alive. While Yin Yue could still fight, she protected Zuo Fan, who was looking for another way out. There is a small light that should be a way out, but it won't be easy because the fish lizards have surrounded them. Yin Yue told Zuo Fan to leave first while she would drive away the monster horde. Zuo Fan complied and he cleared his way out while setting a trap. There, Zuo Fan immediately called Yin Yue, and immediately after that she went through the trap that Zuo Fan had previously set up. The trap managed to close the exit and block the fish lizard from chasing them. But when they got out, they couldn't calm down because, in front of them, there was already another group of fish lizards waiting for them. Yin Yue, who was poisoned, was weak and fell down, while Zuo Fan, with the last of his strength, used the fallen Yin Yue's sword. With that sword, Zuo Fan managed to slash a fish lizard's head, but the head still moved and stabbed Zuo Fan's chest with its tongue. Zuo Fan collapsed, feeling that his life was about to end, and at that time his necklace gave a notification that Zuo Fan had defeated 3 monsters and his energy had been accumulated. The War God system was activated, and the system distributed the points that Zuo Fan had earned. Zuo Fan, who woke up, was shocked. Why was he still alive and his wound was closed? Zuo Fan saw that the fish lizard was still in place and was ready to lunge at them, and immediately Zuo Fan directly attacked the fish lizard. Zuo Fan was able to quickly avoid any of the fish lizard attack that was coming towards him. He was also surprisingly able to feel the power in Yin Yue's sword. He smiled. He advanced to dodge every fish lizard's attack. He also tied his sword with a rope, throwing it so that it hit 2 fish lizards' tongues. He made a proper stance and slashed at the 2 fish lizards at once. Zuo Fan looked at the notice again, which this time told him to focus on the battle first, because there was a monster in front of him. Zuo Fan prepared to charge, where each slash managed to sever the fish lizard's arm. At first, the large number of monsters gave him trouble, But now his strength had increased, and his attacks managed to kill every fish lizard that attacked him. In his mind, he thought that from today onwards he would no longer hide behind his party and would walk his own path. The notification message appeared again, showing how many points could be distributed. But before that, Zhuo Fan took Yin Yue to a safer place. Zhuo Fan was planning to deal with the poisonous blood in Yin Yue's body that lured many monsters, and he was already prepared to do it. Zhuo Fan had a hard time suppressing his lust because of Yin Yue's seductive body, but in the end, he managed to clear the poisonous blood from Yin Yue's body. Not only that, but he had also removed the smell from the blood so as not to provoke the appearance of other monsters. Zhuo Fan then looked at what the system could do. He found out what was going on and had already distributed his points into the stats he needed. Now Zhuo Fan has increased his strength. He tried his strength by trapping a fish lizard, and with just one attack he managed to kill the fish lizard and get 3 additional points. He knows the advantage of the points he got and the effect of increasing his stats. And so Zhuo Fan had already started hunting to increase his strength. Zhuo Fan gains a war god system that can make him stronger, which he takes advantage of by continuing to hunt fish lizards that he can easily defeat. He also took the scales and fangs which he used to sell later. In no time, Zhuo Fan was already at the mid-tier warrior level, and the points he earned from killing fish lizards were reduced to 1 point, making him decide to go deeper to hunt even more powerful monsters. Zhuo Fan was searching underground, and at that time there was a crocodile monster with 2 heads eating a fish lizard. Zhuo Fan returned to where Yin Yue was, and he again cleaned up the blood that was on Yin Yue's body. But just then Yin Yue woke up and directly pointed her sword at Zhuo Fan's neck. Luckily, Zhuo Fan quickly cleared up the misunderstanding and Yin Yue understood the situation. Now they see a 2-headed crocodile. They have to beat it to get out of this place. Yin Yue said that if you want to defeat him, you must be able to draw out the full power of the Starfall sword, or activate the Starfall equipment and cut off both heads directly. Yin Yue told Zhuo Fan to learn how to use the Starfall sword, which explained that the user of the Starfall sword must resonate with the monster core in the weapon, thereby increasing the power of the weapon. Zhuo Fan only had 3 days to master it, in which case he had to fight with the fish lizard to be able to resonate the monster core. But the monster core was so fragile that extreme resonance could instantly make the monster core shatter. Zhuo Fan had only been doing this for half a day when the Wargon system popped up saying that his sword couldn't activate, and to activate it required 10 stats points. Without hesitation, Zhuo Fan immediately activated Starfall sword resonance, and Yin Yue seemed to be very surprised by Zhuo Fan's talent, but also ridiculed Zhuo Fan's level of stupidity, who did not know the effect of its use. Zhuo Fan was already in front of the 2-headed crocodile, and he charged forward to avoid every attack from it. When Zhuo Fan was within attack range, he was hit by the attack from the crocodile's tail and was sent flying far enough, and the attack caused Zhuo Fan to lose a lot of blood. He quickly avoided being hit by the 2-headed crocodile. Zhuo Fan was attacked several times, and he was forced to retreat to see the crocodile's weakness. He had to defeat it to clear his father's name. In Zhuo Fan's memory, he saw his mother's body, which was not found, so there is a possibility that Zhu Fan's mother is still alive. Returning to the battle, Zhuo Fan's hiding whereabouts had already been discovered by the monster, but fortunately, he managed to dodge its attack. His life will had managed to reach the system and gave him a perception skill that could sense the surroundings with a radius of 10 meters. Thanks to that, Zhuo Fan could see and feel the presence of the crocodile behind him. Zhuo Fan quickly activated the Starfall sword as this was his chance to step forward and slash both crocodile heads at once. Thanks to killing that crocodile, he obtained an E-tier monster core. Zhuo Fan had already defeated the 2-headed crocodile, and he had emerged from the underground carrying Yin Yue on his back. Coming out of the underground, he could feel how soft Yin Yue's chest was that several times broke his concentration. But at the same time, Zhuo Fan could feel the attack from his side, and he could easily dodge the numerous arrow attacks. Apparently, the attack came from Mu Zhe, who was ready to kill them. Mu Zhe arrogantly looked down on Zhuo Fan and Yin Yue, who were currently injured. He ordered his men to advance to kill them, while Zhuo Fan smiled happily as he was able to quickly kill the 2 of them. Zhuo Fan took Yin Yue down from his arms and then fought against Mu Zhe. Mu Zhe's men were shocked when they saw their comrades die, while Mujie ordered his men to kill Zuofan and Yinyue immediately. Zuofan, with the perception skill, was able to fend off all the arrows aimed at him. Zuofan has quickly advanced to attack Mujie's 2 men and the 2 people above, and now only Mujie is alone, who is starting to feel the fear of death. His scared face accompanied by his legs and body quickly moving to run away from Zuofan. But Zuofan sneered at Mujie's fast running, and he rushed forward to catch up to sever the right hand of Mujie, who was still trying to beg for forgiveness from Zuofan. But when he saw his chance, he attacked Zuofan, and Zuofan mercilessly slashed Mujie to the head and killed him instantly. Zuofan again carried Yinyue to get out of the monster's nest, and there they saw the Mu family's savior who had arrived. Yinyue thanked Zuofan and gave him a personal contact. The maid saw Yinyue's starfall sword brought by Zuofan, and after them parting ways, Muan advises her not to get close to the traitor's son. But Yinyue seems to have already fallen in love with Zuofan. Meanwhile, Mu Hanhu, who had seen Mu Ji killed, angrily promised to kill Zuofan and Yinyue. Meanwhile, in Zhangbei prison, there are 2 people from the government who will pick up Zuohui, because he will be transferred to another prison. Zuofan was also going to visit his father again, but at that time he saw a floating prison for the most heinous prisoners in China appeared in front of him. Thinking that his father was planning to transfer to the flying prison, the prison officials were in a frenzy because they were chasing after the youth who barged in there, and it was Zuofan trying to stop his father's transfer. The green-haired guards there taunted Zuofan, who was the son of a traitor, while Zuofan charged forward and crushed all the guards who stopped him. He felt one strike and managed to stop the handblade attack from the woman with glasses. The woman was shocked and started to attack Zuofan once again, but Zuofan endured each of her attacks, which were already at a higher level. Even his father was surprised to see his son had grown stronger. Zuofan opened his resonant blade to collide with the woman's attack, and the result was a huge energy explosion that caused the monster core that was in Zuofan's sword to instantly shatter. The green-haired male guard who saw that praised Zuofan and was about to give him time to talk to his father. Zuofan praised his son. He told him that he had never betrayed, and sent his son to the military base in Jining City, where there was evidence behind the fall of S-City. Zuofan was also told where it was and the password as well, and after saying that, Zuofan saw that his father had been taken away into the floating prison. After that incident, Zuofan woke up because his alarm went off and accidentally destroyed his alarm clock. He forgot that his strength was already at the intermediate level. Zuofan got a call from his uncle, who told him to immediately go to his office because he had prepared everything. Zuofan had arrived at his uncle's office where he was there. His uncle had already prepared all the documents and requirements for Zuofan to go to Jining City, along with the novice warrior card. Zuofan thanked Uncle Gao for helping him so far, and he would come back to him later when all his business was done. Zuofan had already departed, and he would head to Jining City in 5 days. Before that, he was going to the trading center. He got a call from his friend, the only friend who cared about Zuofan. After a short conversation, Zuofan went to the trading center. There, with the perception skill, he could feel the power level of the people. If he couldn't see then, that person's level was even higher than Zuofan. Zuofan had entered the trading center and sold all his game there. When he was done with all his business, he also saw Lu Jia, Li Wei's older sister. Now he was already working in the trade center as an entry-level warrior. Zuofan went about his other business, and would greet him later at dinner with Li Wei. Zuofan had already met with other officials to repair his Starfall sword with the mutated E-grade monster core he had obtained. But the clerks said that they couldn't because there wasn't a blacksmith here who was capable of repairing at that level. After Zuofan left, the 2 officials still kept talking about Zuofan being able to have a mutation E-level monster core. They did not believe that someone like Zuofan could possess such a precious item. At that time, there was one person who made an employee who previously ran to Zuofan because an advanced blacksmith had come here. Zuofan was already in the room to meet the blacksmith, and his name was Zhu Nyan. Zuofan hesitated a little until he was sure after seeing that Zhu Nyan's insignia was truly an advanced smith. Zuofan took out his monster core. After seeing the core, Nyan praised the energy contained in it, and he already knew how the monster died. But Nayan also doubted that Zhuo Fan was not the owner of this monster core. Zhuo Fan had said that he was the one who defeated that monster and that the monster's core belonged to him. But Nayan still couldn't believe all of Zhuo Fan's words. Because of Zhuo Fan's determination, he took him to the forge and began to forge swords for Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was already sure of Nayan's refinement level after seeing how quickly Nayan made a single sword. And when the simple sword was made, the last thing he did was to attach a monster core to the blade. When all the energy in the monster's core is installed, it will go berserk. To hold it, you need a high-level warrior. And even then, the energy will continue to fight, and the most effective is the person who kills the monster. Nayan had already attached the beast's core to the sword, and when it merged, the energy released the shape of a two-headed crocodile. Nayan ordered Zhuo Fan to suppress the energy, and Zhuo Fan expended his energy to suppress the two-headed crocodile's energy very quickly. Seeing this, Nayan became more and more convinced that Zhuo Fan was indeed the one who killed the monster. Nayan apologized and gave him a VIP card from an advanced smith, which was actually very rare, and with that he could get a discount at every trading center. Nayan immediately left because he still had a lot of business to do, and after getting the new sword, Zhuo Fan used the VIP card to test his Starfall sword. Soon the examiner named He-Tan came, an advanced-level warrior along with Nayan beside him. Zhuo Fan already knew who He-Tan was, and was about the same level as the woman he met in the flying prison. Both of them were ready to test their weapons. Zhuo Fan gained an additional 40 stats in strength and agility thanks to the effects of his new Starfall sword. He-Tan easily parried each of his attacks, and Zhuo Fan charged forward again. But He-Tan, who had experience attacking him swiftly, Zhuo Fan managed to dodge and defend against He-Tan's attacks. He-Tan was here to test the might of the Starfall E-rank mutant monster core sword, so he immediately activated his huge axe. Likewise with Zhuo Fan, his sword was activated, and a blue aura appeared on his sword. The two of them had collided. Zhuo Fan's sword had a new attribute of penetration, a sudden attack that managed to graze He-Tan. The desperate He-Tan subconsciously used an E-tier technique to escape. He was shocked by the might of Zhuo Fan's sword. He-Tan had already come out of the Starfall sword testing grounds. He had not expected Zhuo Fan's strength to be so great at such a young age. He met Zhuo Fan again and apologized for the incident earlier. He had already used an E-level skill. Zhuo Fan understood this and forgave him. He-Tan left, after giving advice to Zhuo Fan to practice his Starfall sword technique. Zhuo Fan named his new sword Bone Piercer. At this time, Zhuo Fan seemed to be walking towards the meeting place with Li Wei. But at that time, he heard a commotion, and from the voice he heard, he recognized the voice. There, he saw Li Wei and Lu Jia arguing with the three soldiers who accused Lu Jia of stealing the core. Monsters, when really they just wanted to trick him. One person was angry when he saw Lu Wei protecting Lu Jia. He stepped forward and tried to attack him. But when his hand was grabbed by Zhuo Fan, who was already there, he immediately punched him. The man walked away, angry because he saw his friend being bullied. The two swindlers came forward to attack as well, but Zhuo Fan easily punched them both in the stomach. The swindler kept talking to ridicule the trading center's reputation. Just then came He-Tan and several other employees, to stop them thanks to the information he brought. He-Tan immediately knew who. The three of them turned out to have a bad history and punished them before going to the police, and that way the problem was over. At this time, the three of them were eating and talking, and after they finished eating together, Zhuo Fan went to Jining City on Ghost Rain Mountain. Zhuo Fan looked at the heavily guarded military base. There was no chance for him to enter illegally with his current ability, not to mention that Jining City had so many powerful warriors. Even rumors said that the city leader had a warlord rank. Zhuo Fan then went to the bar that he frequented. There was a waiter named Ruji, who was familiar with Zhuo Fan, because Zhuo Fan had been here for 10 days and often visited the bar. At that time, Zhuo Fan saw a broadcast showing a notice that if he could enter the operation on Mount Ghost Rain, the top 10 people could get an offer to enter the military and freely enter and leave the military base. Seeing that, Zhuo Fan knew that this was his chance to enter the military base. There are 3 important forces in Jining City: the military, the Mercenary Association, and the Starfall family. After the night of the falling star, a mutation occurred in the world and many monsters appeared. These three forces scaled the cleaning of monsters in Jinning City to avoid the monster wave and form this joint operation. For 10 people, the most hunting monsters can get rewards and can go in and out of the military base. Jinning City. It is a good opportunity for Zhuo Fan. Now that he is at the registration site and has received a life and death contract, there is also Ru Jie, who is with Pu Pan, a son of mercenary President Pu Hao, and Ru Jie asks him to protect Zhuo Fan. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan appeared to be already on the train. The transportation system after outbreak has been destroyed, and it's only been a few years since the railroad started to operate. On the way, Zhuo Fan even saw a quite dangerous Eagle Fox Monster D level. The carriage went straight to Ghost Rain Base. Pu Pan and Li Hongwu from the Li family. Meanwhile, in a room 3 big names were gathered. Pu Hao, who was the president of his father Pu Pan's mercenary army. Li Zhong, the head of the Li family. And Wei Chenshan, who was the head instructor of the base. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan had already headed out to the outer area to get his space, and the points for the operation this time were 1 point for an F-rank monster, 10 points for an E-rank monster, 100 points for a D-rank monster. He arrived at a dead city that looked very deserted. The skill sensed something underground, and at that moment a large number of rainrock spiders had appeared and surrounded him. Rainrock spiders are F-level monsters with venomous fangs and webs. They make nests that can accommodate hundreds to thousands of spiders. Zhuo Fan was very happy to know that this was the cobweb of the rainrock. He could get a lot of points here. With himself at the intermediate warrior level, Zhuo Fan easily crushed a lot of spiders at once. These spiders, even if they made a nest, would defend their territory, and this city would only have spiders. Zhuo Fan saw the point he got was not much of killing them. He would use them to practice his newly purchased maneuver technique, Willow Steps, the only skill he had found in the Zhangbei Trade Center before. Currently the mastery is at the beginner level, but in its use there are 4 stages in the use of skills. The first is beginner, the second is competent, the third is advanced, and the last is perfect. Meanwhile in the forest, you see Pu Pan, who is injured and being chased by lots of soldiers. Pu Pan knows this is the act of someone who wants to kill him. He ran until he arrived at the city of the dead, where there were lots of dead spider corpses there. With his current condition, he was scared against lots of spiders. Luckily, there was Zhuo Fan who killed the spiders. Pu Pan already knew that this Zhuo Fan was the person Ru Jie asked to protect him, but he never expected that the person he was about to protect would be this powerful. They then entered the building to take shelter. Pu Pan himself received disdain from Zhuo Fan, who didn't think that a child would join this operation, but it couldn't be denied because Zhuo Fan had just arrived in Jinning City and didn't know who Pu Pan was, with many warriors threatening his life. Pu Pan offered Zhuo Fan to cooperate, with Pu Pan to teach Zhuo Fan another maneuver technique that was stronger and more useful than that Willow Step. Zhuo Fan was interested. Although at first Zhuo Fan didn't believe what this little fat kid said, Pu Pan immediately gave him the formula of the skill. Zhuo Fan's task was quite easy. He only needed to protect Pu Pan for the next 3 days, and Zhuo Fan agreed to the offer. An ironic circumstance considering that Pu Pan was supposed to protect Zhuo Fan, not the other way around. After they met and made a deal, a surprising attack came. There were several people with full armor ready to kill. Pu Pan, who didn't want his pride to be hurt, took out his armor and said he already knew that they were sent by the Li family to kill him. Hearing a familiar name, Zhuo Fan remembers that there was a bald old man who originally supported all of his father's affairs. He was even rescued by his father. Just hearing the surname Li, Zhuo Fan was furious, and he activated his Starfall sword. The two of them charged towards Pu Pan with their strength. Pu Pan managed to hold back one person who flew to kill Zhuo Fan, who was then shocked to see Zhu Fan's angry look, and without knowing the body of one of the enemies had already been slashed by Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan continued to advance. Blocking the other two, Zhuo Fan was confident that he could defeat the 3, but it might take a long time. He also had to give out his full strength. Zhuo Fan activated his perception skill and rushed forward. But he was blocked by their 2 whips and was pushed back, their weapons very much. At that time, they shot at Zhuo Fan with arrows. Zuofan was quite troubled because he had to protect Pupan. Zuofan asked Pupan if he could move. Pupan said yes, and he started to move. Because of that, their concentration was split, and this was Zuofan's chance to go forward and kill one person. Two the others got angry and attacked him. Zuofan, who couldn't avoid being hit by an arrow on his shoulder. Zuofan was in a desperate state, but 1 point from killing the previous person allowed him to activate the Willow Blossom Flash skill. Zuofan instantly learned the skill. His movement quickened. He dodged every attack from them and cut off one of his enemy's arm, and at that time, another person tried to stop Zuofan. But that didn't work. Zuofan had already killed his friend, and Zuofan was behind him directly killing that person. 3 soldiers of the same level as him were easily slaughtered, making Pupan, who saw that, very surprised. How could Zuofan beat those 3 people? Pupan told him that this possibility was Li Hongwu's aiming for the first rank to be operated on in a dirty manner. Then it was shown Li Hongwu, who already knew that the 3 people he sent had lost contact, but he was quite happy because he already knew that Pupan was seriously injured, and he was sure that Pupan would not be able to enter the top 10. Li Hongwu plans to become number 1 in this operation and break the record. Meanwhile, after that incident, Zuofan carried Pupan on his back to another hunting ground. They were confronted by a Tier E vine python, and with a new technique, Zuofan easily defeated the snakes. Pupan was very happy with Zuofan and was sure that he would be in first place. Zuofan asked why they wanted to be in first place, and Pupan said that the prize was very good. The reward is an artifact discovered 2 years ago. Alien artifacts. Pupan tells that one night a meteorite fell to Earth. The animals that were affected first began to mutate and monsters appeared in large numbers. Then humans underwent mutations and starfall warriors were born like they are today. And plant or vegetation mutations were slower by 2 last year. 10 years after the meteoroid fall found something in the mutated plant. It's called alien artifact, which can greatly increase strength, but it's very rare to obtain. And the first place to operate on this will get D-rank alien artifact. Hearing that, Zuofan was even more excited, and Pupan was currently leading them to a place where many monsters were found. Zuofan was also shocked by this place. A thick smell of blood. He saw a group of wolves named Broken Blade Ironfur Wolf. This place was discovered by the Mercenary Association, and Zuofan was very happy, because with this he could accumulate points in operations, as well as points in the War God system. Unwilling to be a burden, Pupan advanced to become a tank for Zuofan, and Zuofan swiftly cut down all the wolves that were there. Although easily defeated, but their numbers continued to increase, so they retreated for a while. Meanwhile, Li Hongwu had a plan. He had 2 other teams to accumulate points. For him, if this continued till the end, then he would definitely get first place. But on the other hand, it can be seen that Zuofan has now counted the number of points and already has around 10-14 points. Unfortunately, at that moment, Zuofan's perception skills sensed a wolf that looked different from the usual staring at them from afar. Pupan said that it was a wolf king who had level D and seemed to be evolving again. It was the wolf king of monsters, a monster that had grown to the upper levels in its rank. The wolf was angry that its children and grandchildren were slaughtered and eaten by them as well. Zuofan quickly carried Pupan to escape from the wolf's attack. The wolf was quite fast, but Zuofan was still able to dodge its attack. But when he slashed the wolf's body, the slash didn't penetrate or even scratch it at all. Seeing that the wolf was ready to butt in with its horns, Zuofan had no choice but to upgrade Willow Blossom Flash's skill to the partial level. And thanks to that, he managed to avoid the Wolf King's charge, a charge that could penetrate boulders. Feeling not strong enough, Zuofan also increased his speed stat to 99, and that was already the maximum. And he wanted to test his increased strength. The Wolf King had attacked again. Zuofan's speed was indeed fast. He could dodge and try to slash with penetration skills. Although it managed to make a wound on the wolf's leg, but the wound regenerated very quickly, and without waiting for a long time, the wolf came forward, clawing at Zuofan's shoulder. There was no other choice. Zuofan chose to retreat first. This was the second time Zuofan retreated, and they managed to escape from the Wolf King's pursuit, but when they wanted to rest, several people came who wanted to snatch their points. Hearing their ridicule, both Zuofan and Pupan both got angry and directly beat them up, taking away all their points even though they only got 150 points. At least that was enough to add to their current points gain. Making a reserve team to collect points is actually against the rules. If they are found out, they will be punished by the military. At that time, they saw a lot of people lying down, and Pupan immediately realized that this was a trap. There were 2 swift attacks that they managed to parry, and 2 twins known as the Li family's twin serpents appeared. Not only that, Zhuofan also dodged every arrow that was aimed at him. It turned out that they were already surrounded. Pupan ridiculed the Li family's way of using underhanded means, but the twin snakes didn't care. They charged forward. The green one started to attack quickly. Zhuofan managed to dodge, while the red one started to run backwards, ready to stab Zhuofan in the back. Every attack from the green one could be parried by Zhuofan, while the red one behind could be repelled by Pupan with his shield. But the arrows that kept attacking them quickly made Zhuofan carry Pupan out of that state. Zhuofan was thinking about what a good plan to defeat them was, and just then he remembered the Snake Wolf King. The twins persuaded Zhuofan to come out and hand over Pupan, but Zhuofan was very grudged with the Li family. He had already discussed his plan to Pupan and was sure it would work. Zhuofan provoked their emotions, and it worked. The twin snakes immediately charged at Zhuofan, who was running towards the Wolf King. With Pupan's defense, they managed to get away, and Zhuofan even injured Red's hand. Knowing that Zhuofan's weapon was pretty good, the red one was quite happy and started to chase, but Zhuofan left them at his speed. Seeing them stop chasing, Zhuofan threw a bottle filled with green liquid and hit them directly. They were very angry after knowing the contents of the liquid. It was skunk excrement, and they started to chase again what was waiting for them. At that time, Zhuofan got farther away, and a Wolf King appeared, who ambushed the twin snakes, and at that time the twin snakes realized that they had been trapped by Zhuofan and Pupan. The twin snakes were forced to fight the Wolf King. Their attacks were successfully blocked, and he ordered the archers to aim for the Wolf King's eyes, but that all failed. The Wolf King blocked their every attack, and prevented them from escaping. Zhuofan and Pupan, who saw that on top of the cliff, thought if that group would definitely be able to defeat the Wolf King, but fortunately, the Wolf King could hold them off. The Wolf King charged at the twin snakes even though they managed to dodge. What he was aiming for was the archer, who he immediately tore apart on the cliff. The red one took out a golden whip item that could bind the Wolf King's movements. It was a monster's reins, and with that item it could catch monsters more easily. It was made with monster core and tendons and included rare items. The twin snakes launched a combo attack that managed to make the Wolf King battered, but the Wolf King didn't give up. He attacked the twin snakes with his flying horns and pierced through both of their chests, seeing Zhuofan's chance, and Pupan attacked the other 2 archers. Zhuofan had already stepped forward and stabbed the Wolf King's head when the twin snakes were able to get up. But Zhuofan already knew and shot arrows at the bodies of the 2. The twin snakes were angry after being trapped. Zhuofan was very grateful for bringing them a lot of points, and finally the twin snakes died. When Zhuofan was about to kill the Wolf King, he had already run away. Zhuofan chased after him because he didn't want to miss the points of the Wolf King and the harness too, while Pupan was thinking about eating rank D monster meat. The Wolf King came to a cave. When the Wolf King fell, the system said that the Wolf King was dead. They collected all the materials that could be sold expensive, including the reins. Pupan counted the points from them and earned an additional 350 points. Zhuofan and Pupan Yang wondered what was in the cave and decided to enter, and inside they were surprised to see lots of wolf corpses lying around, but thanks to that they got an additional 300 points. They saw that there was a claw pointing upwards. Zhuofan decided to go up to see what was there. Until there he saw a tree with pink leaves that bloomed very beautifully. He also saw lots of eagle fox guarding it. Seeing how many eagle fox he had, he knew that he would not be able to defeat them. Then at Ghost Rain's camp entrance, 72 hours of hunting was over. The leaderboard is currently the highest, with 526 points, and it's not finished yet, because there are many candidates who haven't given their points, including Li Hongwu and Ji Jun. He is a member of the military force. Likewise with Zhuofan and Pupan, have just come back from their hunt, and they are curious about who got first place and got the alien artifact. The joint operation is over. The soldiers have given their game. Zhuofan was almost too late to come back to the camp, and Pupan told him who was the candidate for the first rank. There was Li Hongwu, who looked depressed because the twin snakes didn't come soon. Then there was Ji Zhan, who had already given his points, and he got 746 points to be the number one. Li Hongwu gave his materials with a total of 813 points and became the first place that almost broke the record. Zhuo Fan also knows who Hongwu is. When he was young, he was arrogant, and it was his grandfather who fawned over his father. Pupan had submitted his hunted results, making the officers very confused as to why Pupan could get so many materials, and his point value totaled 835. That was the result that broke the previous record. Hongwu was even more shocked, but Pupan said that his grades were nothing compared to his boss. Pupan seemed to have considered Zhu Fan as his brother. Zhuo Fan's initial result was 810 points, but he took out one Wolf King's fang. The appraiser had tested it, and sure enough it was indeed the fang of the Wolf King. The appraiser couldn't determine how much the fang was worth. Hongwu, who saw the material that belonged to Zhuo Fan, already knew that it was from the twin snakes, and he was stupidly angry and ordered soldiers to catch the cheating Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan took it easy and emitted a frightening aura towards Hongwu. Just as Zhuo Fan was about to draw out his sword, a spear stabbed in and stopped their movements. 3 important people came. In front was Chen San with Li Zhong and Pu Hao behind. They were at the warlord level. Hearing Hongwu accuse Zhuo Fan of cheating, Chen San agreed and was going to check all the warriors who dared to cheat, but Li Zhong thought there was no need for inspection, and finally Chen San gave the Wolf King 500 points. With that point, Zhuo Fan was ranked first with 1310 points. Chen San praised him and wanted Zhuo Fan to join the military force. Likewise with Pu Hao wanting Zhuo Fan to join the mercenary. Li Zhong himself wanted to leave immediately and said goodbye while inviting them to the operation celebration party this time. Li Zhong knew that Zhuo Fan was the son of a traitor and would not let him go. Zhuo Fan himself was quite happy because in this way he could enter the military base that his father said he would. On the way, Zhuo Fan thought if he illegally entered this place, it would definitely end in death. Luckily, he didn't have time to do so yet. Zhuo Fan, along with Pupan and Ji Zhan, had already arrived at the place where they would receive the reward. The 3 met Chen San, who gave him a security consultant's license and a check for money. The difference in figures was quite large, with Pupan and Ji Zhan getting 3 million and 2 million, while Zhuo Fan got the 8 million because Zhuo Fan broke the record. If Zhuo Fan wanted to enter the military, the reward would be increased, but Zhuo Fan chose to go to the mercenary guild, which had treated him well. And the most awaited gift of the alien artifact was already in his hand. When he opened the box, there was an orange orb. It was tested safe for humans and would record the information he got. Zhuo Fan had eaten the artifact, and after that the system said it would maximize its effect 100%, and Zhuo Fan gains 20 stats to strength. Everyone present was surprised because what Zhuo Fan got reached 20 stats points, because increasing stats points is very difficult, requiring a lot of practice and killing lots of monsters, but getting alien artifacts is very good, especially getting 20 points. In addition, they are also entitled to have combat skills, so that they are then taken to a forbidden place. Zhuo Fan's destination was to the safe deposit box number 9963, and it seemed that place was quite far. They then arrived at a room, and Chen San said that Pupan and Ji Zhan could choose D-rank skills. Among the 3 skills the military chose, Pupan chose wave/skills, and Ji Zhan chose movement skills. Zhuo Fan got special treatment. He was free to choose the skills here. In many skills, Zhuo Fan chooses the Shadow Flash Blade skill, a skill that is quite difficult to learn, but if Zhuo Fan already has a system, so it's easy for him to learn the technique. Chen San gave a condition that Zhuo Fan was not allowed to teach the skill to other people. And after they left, Zhuo Fan already knew that this place was, if they wanted to enter, they had to get a permit or had to become a warlord-level soldier to enter room 80 and above, giving him a purpose, clear to be warlord level. After that, there was a short meeting. Pu Hao gave a gift of 1 million to Zhuo Fan, and Zhuo Fan went straight to the training ground to use his new skill, Shadow Flash Blade. Meanwhile, Pupan had told everything that happened in the joint operation to his father. Pu Hao was furious and was going to take revenge on that Li Zhong. At the training ground, it was seen that Zhuo Fan had activated his new skill that only needed 20 stat points. He was quite happy with the development of his strength. The skills he got were also very powerful and useful. After training, he saw Pu Pan with Ru Jie outside. Zhuo Fan gave gifts to Ru Jie, and Pu Pan, who saw that, was a little hurt, but he learned from Zhuo Fan how to be a bad boy. After that, Ru Jie and Pu Pan took Zhuo Fan to a very nice and safe residential area here. On the way, Zhuo Fan saw a woman with gray-haired glasses who looked familiar on her face. It turned out that Ru Jie and Pu Pan took her to Zhuo Fan's house that the mercenary gave him. It was huge just for him, and he was very happy to thank Pu Pan and Ru Jie. 3 days later at the Li family home, Zhuo Fan and Pu Pan were there for the joint operation celebration party. They appeared in style, and when they entered the party, it was quite extraordinary. Zhuo Fan thought that the Li family currently had a lot of money. Could it be that the money was from accusing his father of being a traitor? Meanwhile, above was Li Hongwu, who was still emotional looking at Zhuo Fan. Beside him was a burly man named Li Rong. He was the one who nurtured the twin snakes, so he came down before Zhuo Fan, who killed the twin snakes. Li Rong was known as the strongest warrior of the family Li. He came to engage him in sparring with additional provocation from Li Hongwu, who was the host. Zhuo Fan replied that he only thought that accidentally killing him would definitely offend the Li family. They had already agreed to spar. They moved to the training ground to have a power struggle. Li Rong wore his shield and morning star. He charged forward at Zhuo Fan, and Zhuo Fan was able to dodge. He knew Li Rong was strong enough. Li Rong used his skills to attack, but Zhuo Fan easily parried each of those attacks, and he improved his Willow Blossom Flash technique. With that, Zhuo Fan advanced simultaneously using his new skill Shadow Flash Blade. Li Rong held him back, but at that time his shield split. He was afraid to ask for help from his master, but Zhuo Fan mercilessly continued his attack and immediately killed him. Zhuo Fan thought that Li Rong was very strong, but it turned out to be no more than he thought. Everyone there saw and was surprised by Zhuo Fan's strength. An angry Hongwu said that to his father. An angry Li Zhong immediately went forward to kill Zhuo Fan. But at that time, Pu Hao came, who resisted his attack. The two of them clashed attack, and ended when Pu Hao said that Li Rong was the one who started all this. Li Zhong stopped because there was also Chen San present. He left after threatening Zhuo Fan. After that, Zhuo Fan thanked Pu Hao, who saved him. Meanwhile, Li Zhong was angry at his useless son. He had been planning this for years. Zhuo Fan's presence was very dangerous, and they had to kill Zhuo Fan immediately, and the same woman escorted Zhuo Fan's father to the prison, flew by seeing all that from distance. 1 week later, it was seen that Zhuo Fan was continuously practicing to increase his strength. He wanted to be stronger for his revenge. At that time, Ru Jie came, who said that Zhuo Fan had been assigned to the hunting team, and they immediately went to meet the hunting team. When he got there, he saw that there was Pu Pan, and there were 3 other warriors whose red hair was named Q Feng. The gray one was called Gan Qi. Both were at advanced level, and the one who became captain was named Xin Jian. He was even a beginner-level warlord. The 3 of them were a top mercenary team with the name Sword Hunt Team. Seeing Pu Pan's familiarity with them, Zhuo Fan was very happy. Xinjian said that their hunt would be carried out in Ghost Rain Mountain, full of B-rank monsters. If the 2 couldn't keep up, he would expel them. Zhuo Fan felt the pressure and promised that he would try not to burden the team. Xin Jian immediately made his move to visit Ghost Rain. It's about time for the monsters to get more aggressive at night. What's more, if they bring a car like this, they can lure a lot of monsters. Instead of looking for monsters, it's better to lure monsters. By that time, Zhuo Fan had already come out withstanding the surprise attack, and Pu Pan already knew that it was the arrow feather of the tail fur arrow. It was the weakest D-rank monster. Killing the monster was just the 2 of you. This was like a test for them to prove themselves, wasn't it? Only the burden of the team. The fox returned to shooting arrows, and the 2 were already advancing. Pu Pan asked Zhuo Fan not to join the attack. He had already blocked every arrow with his defensive technique. After that, Pu Pan jumped and knocked the fox down, and knocked the fox to the ground by hitting its head with the shield. After that, Zhuo Fan gave the final attack. The 3 of them saw how Pu Pan's strength was not just talk, but they didn't get to see Zhuo Fan's strength. Gan Qi said that maybe Zhuo Fan would surprise them because there was no way for Zhuo Fan to be weak, especially seeing Pu Pan following him around like a minion. Zhuo Fan felt something strange. At that time, 2 chameleon monsters appeared, which was quite troublesome. Xinjian came down to help. But he stopped because Zhuo Fan was faster. The chameleons have camouflage abilities and move very fast. Their weakness is in their eyes. If they can't kill both of them directly would be troublesome. Zhuo Fan used the Shadow Flash Blade. Double Lightning Flash attacked the two chameleons very quickly. Not even the chameleons attack until Zhuo Fan had finished them off. The Sword Hunter team was very surprised to see how Zhuo Fan easily defeated the chameleon with one strike. Likewise, Xinjian was amazed by his abilities and called Zhuo Fan a genius. After that, Xinjian accepted the two into their hunting team. Continued, they encounter some monsters but can be defeated with good teamwork. Currently they are resting, and Zhuo Fan praises the teamwork and strength of advanced warriors. Zhuo Fan also earned a lot of points until Xinjian told him to rest, because at this time they were at the border of the Red region, a very dangerous area, because a lot of beginner warlord level monsters appeared. Hearing materials from warlord level monsters that sold very expensively, Zhuo Fan couldn't stop smiling. At that time, Gan Qi, who was fishing for monsters, had arrived. They brought a group of monsters and told them to get ready immediately and be careful if there were monsters that mutated. These monsters were known to like to group together and tend to mutate. They could rank up easily. Gan Qi had gotten back into position and the monsters had already attacked. Pu Pan managed to hold off the two monsters, and Zhuo Fan saw his chance and slashed at both of them. Zhuo Fan easily attacked his prey, and thus increased his points. Gan Qi behaved very strangely and was behind Zhuo Fan and was about to attack him. At that moment, a monster from above was about to pounce on him, and luckily there was Zhuo Fan, who quickly flew over and stabbed the monster's heart. The battle was going well, but the sheer number of monsters gave them a hard time. That's when they exploded. Explosives and so on made the monsters quickly mutate, and what was behind it was Li Hongwu Yang wanted revenge on Zhuo Fan. And sure enough, there was one mutated monster. Zhuo Fan quickly saved Ku Feng from the mutated monster. There was a crystal on his back. Li Hongwu was very happy to see, that couldn't wait to see how Zhuo Fan died. Xinjian charged towards the mutated monster, both of them clashing attacks, and the same rank made their fighting attacks even more intense. Thanks to that, Xinjian felt able to level up. Xinjian has been waiting for this moment for many years, but it has prevented him from reaching the warlord level. But at this time, Gan Qi treacherously stabbed Xinjiang in the back, and immediately retreated after saying all this was caused by Zhuo Fan making the Li family his enemy. Back to the sword hunting group that was betrayed, Xinjian, who was impaled, was helpless when he was hit by an attack from the mutation monster. Chu Feng ordered Zhuo Fan to help Xinjian, who was already injured. Hongwu was happy to see that because he had already made Gan Qi a spy, and he would kill them all here. All the arrows had begun to aim at the party sword hunting. Chu Feng was hit by one arrow and had to hold off the mutated monsters in front of him. He told Pu Pan and Zhuo Fan to take Xinjian away from here, and he would endure the mutation. Zhuo Fan made a very quick decision. He knocked Chu Feng unconscious. He would take Chu Feng's place. Ordered Pu Pan to take the two of them away from here. Let Zhuo Fan divert this monster, and not leave immediately. Zhuo Fan knocked Ku Feng down, and ordered Pu Pan to take him away immediately because he believed that Zhuo Fan could do that, thanks to the help of the development system. Zhuo Fan was very quick to kill monsters while increasing his strength to 99. But their number was very large. Zhuo Fan chose to run, but the mutation was quickly catching up with him. Zhuo Fan was forced to improve his skills to be able to escape from the mutation chase. He had managed to escape past the deranged monsters, but he had to hurry back to where Pu Pan was. Hongwu, who was the mastermind of all these incidents, instead waited for Zhuo Fan to die, and didn't kill him right away. Also at Pu Pan's place, Chu Feng already realized they were stopped because there was a deadlock, and at that time there was an attack from the fox. Pu Pan resisted all the attacks, and Zhuo Fan had arrived there to eradicate all the foxes that were behind them. Surprised to see Zhuo's strength-increasing fans? Zhuo Fan already knew that this monster's nature would be revenge and would continue to chase. He ordered them to climb the cliff, and thanks to that, they escaped from the monsters. Zhuo Fan couldn't hold back his anger with the Li family and was going to kill them all with his own hands. Ku Feng praised the strength of Zhuo Fan, who managed to escape. They were shocked to know that Zhuo Fan's skill had risen so quickly. The unconscious Xinjian radiated energy ready to advance to the warlord level. The warrior who advanced to the warlord level was called the best warrior. Xinjian had been heavily injured protecting his team before, that made his chances of advancing to warlord very low. But after forming a sword hunting team, he hunted many monsters in Ghost Rain, and was currently ready to level up to warlord. Zhuo Fan asked whether advancing to warlord simply by killing monsters was the same as monsters mutating. They mutated due to provocation. Likewise, humans leveled up by fighting, and so far there has been no other way. At that time the day had changed, dawn had arrived. They were surprised to see a group of eagle fox who were ready to kill them. The three angle foxes had already advanced to attack Chu Feng and Pu Pan, who was injured. Zhuo Fan was only passed by, and Pu Pan gave advice to find a cave to make it easier to fight them. But Chu Feng said the eagle fox was very cunning. They were probably in a nest around here, and they were already a target to be hunted. Zhuo Fan heard Chu Feng's words that they needed a ranged weapon that could attack. Eagle Fox again launched its attack on Pu Pan and Chu Feng, who were ready to defend themselves. Zhuo Fan attacked the Eagle Fox using the weapons he got from the twin snakes. 2 ropes were tied up to bind the monsters. Zhuo Fan quickly attacked and killed 2 Eagle Foxes, but one of them managed to escape. Kuo Feng told him to quickly kill because the Eagle Fox was very cunning, and he would report to the herd. Zhuo Fan quickly chased after it. There was one occasion when Zhuo Fan attacked Eagle and instantly killed him. At that time he had arrived in a cave which is believed to be the nest of Eagle Fox. When Zhuo Fan entered the cave, he remembered this place. He had been here during the joint operation. The difference was he didn't feel any terrifying aura before. He saw a light that might just be an artifact with the power that he was currently confident of being able to take it with an attack. Quietly. Zhuo Fan managed to finish off the guards at the place using his handy weapon. Zhuo Fan made it to a tree there and he saw an emerald green alien artifact. Is this really an alien artifact? Zhuo Fan investigated the area, and there was one eagle fox sleeping. He was the king of the eagle fox. When a rabbit wanted to eat the artifact, a guard who was hiding immediately killed him. By using perception, Zhuo Fan became aware of the many guards hiding. Zhuo Fan easily dealt with the guards. He also improved his skills and started clearing the guards quickly. Zhuo Fan had already cleared out all those guards. He dangled and got the alien artifact easily. At that time, the king of the eagle fox woke up and he realized that many of his brothers had been killed and his property stolen, but he could not leave yet because he seemed to be incubating his eggs and would kill the intruders when the cubs were born. Zhuo Fan had already come out of the cave and in his hand was an alien artifact. The system informed that Zhuo Fan could not use it yet, and Zhuo Fan was forced to save the alien artifact and go to Pu Pan's place. Meanwhile, Pu Pan and Chu Feng had moved places, but they could be found by the monsters. They endured all the attacks from the monsters, and at that moment Zhuo Fan came from behind to mow down the monsters. Zhuo Fan will confidently kill that mutated beast. Kuo Feng understood, and was going to protect Xinjian from that mutated beast that had begun to roar with an extremely terrifying aura. Zhuo Fan calmly stepped forward. He felt that the mutation was not as strong as before. Zhuo Fan easily wiped out the other small monsters, and thanks to that the points gained were very large. He aimed his attack at the mutation. The 2 attacks had met so that Zhuo Fan was pushed back. Zhuo Fan quickly dodged the mutation's bite and swiftly bound the mutation with the reins. He also raised his skill to advance and succeeded in killing the pseudo-warlord level monster. The 2 of them were very surprised to see what happened, and praised Zhuo Fan, who was only getting stronger. Chu Feng stopped the chatter and took care of the monsters. Zhuo Fan couldn't wait to sell the monster, and Pu Pan couldn't wait to eat the flesh of the monster pseudo-warlord. They had cut out any expensive parts from the monster. Pu Pan also found 2 D-rank monster cores, which was pretty good considering monster cores were hard to find. But Xinjian still didn't wake up. Meanwhile, there were 2 people from Li family who wanted to see their corpses. But Zhuo Fan was already waiting for them and immediately dismounted to slay them. Zhuo Fan's speed and strength had increased. He flew to slaughter all the people from the Li family standing guard around. Zhuo Fan had reached the top of the tree to greet them all. He asked where the cowardly Li was hiding. They were very arrogant and took out their weapons, and were ready to kill Zhuo Fan. There was also Gan Qi, who was shocked to see that Zhuo Fan's changes were noticeably different from before. It was like facing a pseudo-warlord level warrior. As a scout, Gan Chi could feel an overwhelming sense of danger, and he told them not to fight Zhuo Fan. But he was too late because Zhuo Fan had already slaughtered everyone in front of him. Gan Chi was scared and ran away. Gan Chi. Why rush? Captain Xin Jian and Uncle Q Feng want to see you. Zhuo Fan was already behind him, catching up to him. Zhuo Fan slashed at him, but Gan Chi was not to be outdone. He also attacked Zhuo Fan, and Zhuo Fan resisted the attack, but his attack hit Gan Chi faster. Zhuo Fan ordered to surrender and was going to take him to the captain to receive punishment. But Gan Chi stood up and thrust Zhuo Fan's sword into his chest. His only choice was that he had to die here, because he was embarrassed to meet Captain Gan Chi, who was a scout in the sword hunting that more and more famous, and he earned a lot of money from sword hunting in the past. It is said that in the past, there were 5 people and 2 others died when there was a monster wave. Gan Chi, who was tired of fighting, entered gambling. His huge debt made him a spy for the Li family, until he found out that this was just a trap for the Li family. He advised Zhuo Fan, who had been targeted by the Li family, Gan Chi's last message before dying to tell his family that he died from hunting. Zhuo Fan heard that there was a call from the Li family who might be close by. He immediately went there. Hong Wu, who was waiting, already knew that he had lost contact with the other team. At that time, there was a great tremor that made them decide to withdraw because there was a possibility of an outbreak. Likewise, Zhuo Fan knew he had let Hong Wu run for a while. Where the Eagle Fox King was seen, his egg emitted a bright light which was about to hatch. A few days after the hunt, at Gan Chi's residence, it was seen that his father and mother had been informed that Gan Chi had died during the hunt. Meanwhile, at the mercenary headquarters, Xinjian is still unconscious. Ko Feng was thankful that Xinjian didn't die. If he woke up, he would definitely be at the warlord level. Zhuo Fan couldn't hold back his emotions towards the Li family, who had caused so much trouble. His assistant said that if the Li family didn't commit crimes openly, if they declared war, they would be the same as becoming the enemy of the Starfall family in Jining City. His assistant reassured his boss. This tragedy brought the advantage that Xinjian had already advanced to warlord, and also Zhuo Fan, who also confirmed Ku Feng had advanced to the novice warlord level. If that was true, then in the future, mercenaries would have enough strength to destroy the Li family. A week later, Zhuo Fan was seen training. He tried the method of leveling up by focusing on training, but the result was empty, because he had not yet leveled up to warlord level. The only other option is hunting monsters. Currently, Zhuo Fan's stats are all 99 points, and it's just a matter of leveling up. At that time, he smelled grilled meat, and he immediately went there to see Pu Pan, who was grilling meat with Ru Ji, Q Feng, and Captain Xinjian, who was already conscious and already at the warlord level. Xinjian thanks Zhuo Fan for saving him, and Xinjian tells him to eat first, because after this, they meet Pu Hao to receive gifts. After eating, Xinjian had already given a hunting bounty to Zhuo Fan. In the hunt, Zhuo Fan got 100 million, and Xinjian said there was even a situation where the Li family lost a lot of warriors, but not necessarily nothing bad will happen after this. It only takes one small spark can trigger a war team sword. Hunter can become the target of the Li family, and their main target must be Zhuo Fan. The Starfall family and the Mercenary Association of the 12 parties are always fighting behind the scenes. They are always vying to be the best in their warriors. Now Xinjiang has become a warlord who can make mercenaries restore the state of the Starfall family, plus Zhuo Fan can also ascend to warlord. It would be dangerous for him to continue using equipment that didn't support him fighting fellow warlords, and Xinjiang took them to auction in search of good equipment. And unexpectedly, when they were there, they ran into the Li family. It looked like Hong Wu was very surprised to see Zhuo Fan, who was not injured at all. Xinjiang, who was very angry, released his warlord aura so that the guards there stopped their fight. They had the right to execute everyone who made trouble at the auction. For now, they are not fighting power. The 2 young men ran into Hong Wu, who was with a special agent who said, "Don't worry. If all goes according to plan, then they will be over." The special agent was curious about the rookie warlord like Zhuo Fan. They had arrived at the auction. There were many people already seated, including Zhuo Fan, who had also been told how to use it. He looked at the items listed on it and found there was one wind blade that used a rank D monster core. The starting price was 50 million, and with the money at this moment, it was possible that he could afford it. Xinjiang might say that it's possible that the money is lacking because a lot of people are looking for weapons like this. Zhuo Fan was forced to sell his 2 D-rank monster cores and currently has a total of 160 million. When Zhuo Fan returned, he saw that the sword's price had increased by 70 million. There was a competition for wealth where Zhuo Fan continued to increase his money and managed to buy Wind Blade for 110 million. The auctioneer had already handed the sword to Zhuo Fan, and Zhuo Fan checked the status of the sword. Using it got 90 speed stats and 30% strength. He was very happy to get the sword, but his heart ached to give up the 110 million money just like that. Meanwhile, Hongwu, who saw Zhuo Fan who bought the sword, he didn't think it was Zhuo Fan who killed all his people. He was triggered to become strong. Another item in the auction was a D-rank alien artifact. Zhuo Fan heard the host say that the artifact is good for level 2, because those words caused a lot of interested buyers. The initial price was 15 million, and now it is 55 million. Hongwu, who wanted the artifact, increased the price all the way to 60 million. Seeing that, Zhuo Fan had a sinister idea. In silence, he deliberately increased the price. The artifact had already exceeded the market price, which is usually only 40 million at the most. But Hongwu kept raising the price to be able to get the item as well as Zhuo Fan, who wanted Hongwu's money to run out, until finally Hongwu bought the alien artifact for 100 million. Pupan congratulated him while mocking him, and Hongwu was angry that he had been tricked. After buying the alien artifact, Hongwu left the auction while Zhuo Fan was still around. At that time, he saw a book that cost 30 million, even though the D-rank maneuver skill usually costs 10 million, Floating Step of Luminosity, a long-lost skill. It's no wonder the price is so expensive. It's the technique of the late warlord who died in outbreak 3 years ago. He died exhausted from fighting monsters for 3 days and 3 nights. The Floating Step of Luminosity skill was the reason why he could fight for so long. Zhuo Fan looked at the system saying that the skill book was C-rank. Zhuo Fan had to hold it to get the complete information. A Zhuo fan decided to buy the book, and everyone was so surprised when Zhuo Fan bought it. Zhuo Fan just wanted to give it a try. He already got the book, and to activate proof it takes 45 points. That's a lot because for D rank only 20 points he can activate that skill. Because the book is still a fragment, Zhuo Fan hasn't activated it yet. Since his current points are 47, he seems uncomfortable if he doesn't have less than 30 points in reserve. After that, they returned to the base where Xinjian invited Zhuo Fan to spar and test his new weapon. They arrived at the training ground and Xinjian allowed Zhuo Fan to attack first. Zhuo Fan has experienced the aura of a warlord, but fighting head-on is completely different. He rushes forward at a speed that even Pu Pan can hardly see. Zhuo Fan was pushed. He tested the strength of the Wind Blade. He stepped forward and activated his weapon of extreme dexterity. A purple aura rushed out. Xinjian also activated his large sword. A large slash of flame dye collided with Zhuo Fan's purple aura. Zhuo Fan's strength was not strong enough. He was inferior to Xinjian. The system wanted to activate his new skill, but he had not activated it yet. After that, the sparring was over. Pu Hao and his assistant did not expect that Zhuo Fan's strength could keep up with Xinjian. Meanwhile, in a lab, there were Li Hongwu and Li Zhang who were with someone who was testing something. At that time, he felt someone. He slashed at the place where the person was hiding, but the intruder was able to get out of that place faster, employee. They said most of the test data it was stolen by the hooded man. But Li Zhang said the attack contained poison, so the intruder couldn't be far from here. Give chase, and the test data must be recovered. Returning to Zhuo Fan, who was going home, he saw a lot of blood there. In one place, Zhuo Fan saw a gray-haired woman who was surrounded by monsters. Zhuo Fan was so surprised to see the woman's attack that managed to blow up the monster's head, and at the same time the woman seemed to know her, and he ordered Zhuo Fan to take him away from this place. He ran away from the Li family and had to run quickly before he was caught. In Zhuo Fan's mind, instead, he thought this was a fated meeting. Just then came a group of monsters that somehow managed to work together. The two people who were chasing directly attacked Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan easily killed the two of them. Zhuo Fan saw the woman's face and finally knew who she was. Seeing that many pursuers were almost there, Zhuo Fan immediately took the woman away from this place. Zuofan had already taken him to the mercenary base. They had taken care of him and would likely wake up 72 hours later. His name is Su Lan. The file he is carrying cannot be accessed because it uses a military code that can only be opened by the military. If you force it to open it, and it is wrong, then the files inside will be lost. Zuofan is also very curious about why there are monsters in the middle of the city. Pu Hao was also weird about those monsters. It was probably human-made, and if that was true, then it would be a serious problem. At that time, Li Zhong called Pu Hao. Li Zhong accused Zuofan of stealing something belonging to the Li family. He demanded to hand over Zuofan as soon as possible. But Pu Hao didn't want to. He would not hand over his person to the Li family. The people beside him had already said that they might be able to open that file quickly. With that time, they could get rid of Zuofan as well. That person smiled slyly and did not expect that Zuofan was Zuo Hui's son. A few moments later, a siren sounded. All the channels broadcast Li Zhong saying that Zuofan stole and killed a person from the Li family. Whoever killed Zuofan, he would get 10 billion, a huge amount for one person's head. On the military side, Li Zhong ordered the closing of the base and forbidding all personnel from leaving. Pu Hao got a call from the Central Mercenary Alliance who would follow the rules and would not interfere with affairs. There at that time, Pu Pan came in, and he said that Zuofan had left the mercenaries to avoid conflicts that would occur if he remained in the base. Pu Hao ordered them to prepare to fight against the Li family. Zuofan was outside in an area to fight these money-crazed people. When a few people came to surround him, Zuofan easily killed them all. They tried to set up a barrier to prevent Zuofan from escaping, but Zuofan calmly activated his sword in one strike, killing everyone there and destroying the barrier. Zuofan changed places again. Humans were more ruthless when it came to money. Meanwhile, at Hongwu's place, he was already confident that he could kill Zuofan this time. The pursuit of the 10 billion bounty continues. It is not easy for Zuofan to have killed so many advanced warriors. The head of the Starfall family is this matter, because the country's main family has already told them to keep quiet. Zuofan kept running to kill the person who came for his head. Thanks to the healing effect of the artifact he had, he was able to survive this long. When 2 attacks came, he dodged and saw that Hongwu immediately came down to hunt him down. He was very angry and confident, because they brought a pseudo-warlord-level soldier. The 2 people directly attacked Zuofan, and Zuofan could withstand the attack of the 2. Hongwu was even more angry knowing that Zuofan's strength was comparable to that of a pseudo-warlord. The attack that many Zuofan chose to hide first after killing many people. He finally activated the floating step of luminosity skill. After the skill was active, both of his legs felt pain as if he was being attacked. But then his legs had no weight at all, and he knew that this skill was so strong. Thanks to that skill, his speed increased by 50% at the cost of 1% stamina per minute. By the time the Li family had found him, they had regarded Zuofan as easy prey. Zuofan was confident in his speed. At this time, he activated his skill and swiftly dodged every single attack from the 2 people and directly slashed them. Luckily, they had armor that could protect their bodies, so they weren't dead yet. With all the excuses, they came back to attack Zuofan. Zuofan increased his skills again quickly as he disappeared and arrived behind, slashing the 2 of them to death. The rest were just weaklings easily exterminated by Zuofan. Hongwu, who was waiting outside, was curious why his men didn't come out immediately, and he was startled by the voice of Zuofan, who was already behind him. "Li Hongwu, you looking for me? Incidentally, I want to pay off my debt. Take your weapon, and let's fight to the death." The cowardly Li Hongwu ordered his men to advance, and he retreated instead, but Zuofan easily slaughtered them. He had also been directly in front of Hongwu. Hongwu had no choice but to fight, but a single punch from Zuofan sent him flying. Hongwu kowtowed for mercy while calling him young master Zuofan. Zuofan recalled his past when the Li family fawned over his family. Meanwhile, Li Zhong, who was just sitting quietly, received a call from his son's phone. Zuofan's voice had threatened that he would kill Hongwu if Li Zhong did not reveal who was the mastermind behind his father's imprisonment. Hearing that, the person beside Li Zhong pressed something directly towards Hongwu's neck. At that time, Hongwu, for no apparent reason, felt pain and attacked Zuofan. Zuofan stabbed him in the shoulder, but somehow Hongwu died immediately, even though he was not stabbed in a vital area. Zhuo Fan was sure it was poison and began to chase the person who shot the poison. Li Zhong had already received information that his son Li Hongwu was already in the afterlife waiting for his father to follow him. He was furious and would intervene immediately. He no longer cared about warlord rules. Intervene. His child is already dead, so he will kill Zhuo Fan with his own hands. Meanwhile, the person beside Li Zhong called someone, said he was done and told him to buy time until Li Zhong met Zhuo Fan and not reveal himself. Zhuo Fan was chasing the person who shot the poison. He was a warlord with the codename Guard Kai, and he disappeared quickly. Zhuo Fan, who is a fugitive, continues to be hunted down. But Zhuo Fan is already strong and has succeeded in slaughtering everyone there. He finally knows the law of the strong will survive, the weak will die. Zhuo Fan refuses to die and will continue to survive. Bloody night in the city. Many people died caused by one person. Zhuo Fan saw Guard Kai, so he increased his skills and tried to chase after him, still confident in his speed, and had already disappeared from Zhuo Fan's sight. After he left, he sounded the beacon which Li Zhong saw in person. He went straight to that location. Hearing Li Zhong breaking the rules, Zhuo Fan's relatives immediately went to help, including Ji Zhan. Meanwhile, in the Starfall family who knew about it as well, but they didn't take action because the only ones fighting were advanced warriors, and in essence, they underestimated Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan, who was walking, was startled by the appearance of Li Zhong, who immediately attacked him from behind. Zhuo Fan mocked him and challenged him to come forward. He knew that it was very powerful. Zhuo Fan advanced using a skill that increased his speed. Li Zhong was still smiling down on Zhuo Fan's speed. He dodged every attack by Zhuo Fan easily. When Zhuo Fan appeared behind him, he could see him and rushed behind Zhuo Fan while directing his fiery punch. Zhuo Fan was able to withstand his attacks, but he was pushed away. Zhuo Fan was unable to keep up with Li Zhong, who was charging back at him. Zhuo Fan's speed increased again. He dodged and attacked Li Zhong from behind, but Li Zhong the warlord easily dodged and gave him successive blows. Zhuo Fan ran away again. He finally knew that Li Zhong was at the peak warlord level novice. Every attack of Li Zhong could be dodged by Zhuo Fan, but it took great effort. Zhuo Fan's body was already on the verge of breaking, but at that time several people came who could serve as points for him. Zhuo Fan was overjoyed to see that, and quickly slaughtered everyone who attacked him and earned 45 points to upgrade the floating step of luminosity skill to perfection. He quickly ran until Li Zhong lost track of Zhuo Fan's speed increase. Zhuo Fan, who was hiding, drank a stamina and SP potion. At that time, there was an attack that luckily he was able to avoid it. It was Guard Kai who used his gun. He didn't expect that Zhuo Fan would be this powerful. He had to kill him. Here, Zhuo Fan is thinking about why Kai didn't kill him. Previously, he finally knew that Kai was aiming to make Zhuo Fan a suspect in Li's death. Zhuo Fan wanted to run away from it immediately, but at that time Kai made a barrier with weapons. Kai again made a sign that made Li Zhong already there, so that Zhuo Fan was trapped between the tigers and the wolves. Zhuo Fan would bet on the alien artifact he was holding. Meanwhile, at the heads of the Starfall family who saw it too, they were already sure this would be over soon. Meanwhile, the mercenaries and military were on their way to Zhuo Fan's place to help him. Kai blew a monster control device that would hinder mercenaries and military. Zhuo Fan was already cornered. He became a punching bag for Li Zhong. He fell down because the system kept saying, "Don't eat the alien artifact because it could kill him." There was only a 30% chance it would work. But Zhuo Fan's circumstances were desperate for him to eat the artifact. Whatever happened, his body felt like it would explode. Li Zhong, who was in front of him, kept beating him mercilessly until Zhuo Fan couldn't fight back. Xinjiang and the others had arrived, but they were a bit late. Li Zhong's last punch was halted as Zhuo Fan's body had suddenly risen to the novice warlord level. Zhuo Fan felt his strength rising. Zhuo Fan had already advanced to the novice warlord level and charged at him. Zhuo Fan easily parried every attack from Li Zhong. Without waiting for a long time, Zhuo Fan charged at him. Li Zhong couldn't dodge and took the attack. His hand was slashed, and he was very surprised to see Zhuo Fan, who had already risen to the novice warlord level, and he wasn't even 20 years old yet. Li Zhong still believed that Zhuo Fan was using a cunning trick, so he charged forward again with his two hands accumulating enormous energy, which Zhuo Fan countered using a floating step of luminosity. He parried every attack from Li Zhong and Guard Kai, who saw that were stunned to see how Zhuo Fan had already been born to the novice warlord level and was the youngest in the world. Xinjian, who saw that, was sure that Zhuo Fan was already at the warlord level. Also, Li Zhong went forward. He would not let Zhuo Fan's life be in peace. Every time Li Zhong's attack, he saw Li Zhong's movement slow down a little. Zhuo Fan's swift attack was already weakening it. Li Zhong couldn't even see the attack. The two continued to attack each other, but Zhuo Fan had the upper hand. Hearing that Zhuo Fan had ascended as a warlord, he had only been silent all along, hoping that Li Zhong would continue to live, because if Zhuo Fan won and killed Li Zhong, the Starfall family would be in big trouble. Kai also saw Zhuo Fan as a dangerous figure. He had to finish him here, or kill Zhuo Fan, who was in front of Li Zhong. Seeing the old geezer using cunning means he already knew from his cunning face he could avoid it. And at that time, a green snake attacked from behind him. Zhuo Fan lost his speed faster than Kai's attack. Li Zhong jumped back thinking it was an opening, but Zhuo Fan was able to avoid it and slashed several times. Zhuo Fan stepped forward again. He punched the old geezer in the face and was about to make his face burst like a rose. Zhuo Fan mercilessly continued to beat him until Li Zhong, who was about to lose, fell prostrate to Zhuo Fan for mercy. Zhuo Fan would not be fooled, but he wanted to know who was the mastermind behind his father's troubles. Before hearing Li Zhong's words, Zhuo Fan already knew there was an explosion. The explosion had already occurred, and Kai quickly carried Li Zhong's body flying away. Zhuo Fan was curious about who this person really was, always bothering him. Everyone there was very surprised to see Zhuo Fan defeating Li Zhong. Li Zhong told them that they would not be killed, because Li Zhong had already run away. They all wanted to live and left immediately. Pu Pan immediately approached him and hugged him happily. Xinjian said to return to the association because Pu Hao was waiting for him. Ji Zhan, who was there, also said that Chen San wanted to meet Zhuo Fan when there was time. Zhuo Fan was in the warlord now, so he could go to the place where his father kept his secret. Ji Zhan called Chen San and said this incident was unfair to Zhuo Fan, and asked him to make a deal with the Li family in Jining City. And this only happened because of one young man who was not even 20 years old, and even became the youngest warlord. After that, Zhuo Fan returned to sparring with Xinjian. This time it's different from the floating step of luminosity skill. He can avoid every Xinjian attack. Even Xinjian admits that they don't deny that the skills that Zhuo Fan bought at the auction, he will quickly learn and master. Zhuo Fan also visited Sulan, who still hadn't woken up. The doctor said he might wake up in 12 hours, so he would contact Zhuo Fan when he woke up, and at this time Zhuo Fan would go to the Ghost Rain military base to see Chen San. Zhuo Fan was already in front of the military base. He saw that the security at the military base was being tightened more and more. Did anything happen? Chen San greeted him. He didn't expect that Zhuo Fan would briefly step into the warlord realm. Chen San seemed to know his father, Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan asked why he was invited here. Chen San immediately took him to the restricted area. The deeper into the area, the more guard posts that required inspection. Zhuo Fan was fortunate to be able to go in there accompanied by Chen San. It turned out that Chen San escorted them to the place where Zhuo Fan's father kept a secret. Zhuo Fan has also seen where the safe is. Chen San said this is the reason why he couldn't help Zhuo Fan in the tragedy of the Bloody Night. They saw the thousands of alien artifacts stored there. Because Zhuo Fan was already in the warlord realm, he had to be informed, and for Ji Zhan, he was an exception. Chen San continued his conversation, and this is very confidential and should not be leaked out. Ghost Rain Mountain was one of the places where meteors fell, and the first monster mutations occurred. Plant mutation starts first, resulting in a high chance of alien artifacts. Military bases increasing security find lots of alien artifacts. Alien artifacts are very useful for warriors. If many people know, it will be very dangerous. Zhuo Fan and Ji Zhan were brought here to be asked to help protect him because of the pounding from everywhere, and there was a certain group that turned their eyes here. Zhuo Fan and Ji Zhan, who already know that this important task they will join in their protection, are allowed to stay here for 3 hours per day. The effect is to increase strength, and especially today they are allowed 12 hours, hoping that the two of them will get stronger as soon as possible for fear of dangerous terror sudden. Meanwhile, in a research place, a mysterious person orders to inject the serum into the dying Li Zhong. When he wakes up, The person says their plan can be executed faster. This is their plan to attack the artifact park, which is in the military base, while carrying a dog-headed mouse monster that they made to eat the artifact. Once it has eaten, there must be a lot of monsters that have mutated and gotten stronger, maybe up to the warlord level, and they have the ability to control these monsters. The monsters made them an army. Jizhan and Zhuofan had entered the artifact garden. Only when they entered, Zhuofan felt his strength increase by 1 sta. Zhuofan began to meditate to be able to increase his strength. The resulting stats varied depending on the artifact. When he saw his status, Zhuofan saw if the floating step of luminosity skill there goes up to rank D, but it takes 100 points. Meanwhile, at the mercenary headquarters, Pu Hao still had not found Li Zhong since being defeated by Zhuofan. Pu Hao sensed that trouble was about to arise because he knew that there had been a lot of incidents going on, and they were very suspicious. At that time, there was a report from his men. It turns out that they found a monster attracting device, and it was in the vicinity of Jining City. This tool is usually used during an outbreak so that it can focus the attention of monsters to the first point. But the reports keep appearing. They found a tool that it's the same around Jining City, let alone the tool looks like it's been used. At that time, Ru Jie came in. He said that Sulan had woken up. Sulan had presented the results of his investigation. There, we see the same hooded man and the Li family plotting something with the rat monster. They also believed that it was the Li family who placed the monster lure device. Pu Hao told them to take precautions, and Sulan asked where Zhuofan was. At that time, they remembered the monster charmer's first target was at the military base, and Zhuofan was currently there. Meanwhile, at the military base, there's a commotion because of a monster that comes from Ghost Rain. On the outskirts of Jining City, you can also see Li Zhong riding a bear. The mercenary begins to gather warriors who can fight to go to the outbreak location. Meanwhile, Sulan seemed to be going to where Zhuofan was heading to the military base. Zhuofan, who was meditating, heard an alarm sound. Jizhan announced that there was a monster attack. They were surrounded, and the mastermind was Li Zhong. Zhuofan took this opportunity to head to the safe and saw that it was empty. Just then, Sulan came and immediately said he had to go to the artifact garden. Because that was Li Zhong's main goal, Zhuofan still didn't believe that Sulan had taken his father to the flying prison, but Sulan said that otherwise his father would be in danger. At that time, there was a huge monster that came from the rooftop. Zhuofan easily finished them off. Sulan was very surprised to see how Zhuofan's strength had grown so fast. There was no time for them to go to the artifact garden that was Li Zhong's target. In Jizhan's artifact garden, and warriors held off the monsters. Whatever happened there were also monsters, and Zhuofan quickly blocked the attacks of the monsters. He had the others block the other flank, and Zhuofan rushed forward to clear the monsters in one strike. Sulan was so shocked what had happened to the answers so far. Had he eaten something strange? Why was he suddenly so strong? He seemed to not believe it after being told that Zhuofan had almost killed Li Zhong. Zhuofan found it easy even after killing 100 monsters. There were 2 monsters that ambushed him. He was shocked when someone carried a bomb. There was an explosion, but Zhuofan survived. It turns out that these monsters are monsters who are trained in attack. Zhuofan quickly slashed at the monster that was preparing to attack him. The huge monster wanted to run away, but Zhuofan, who was chasing it, quickly parried the surprise attack. There were 3 warlord-level people coming with masks on. There was one who used a flute to control the monsters. Zhuofan at this time knew that he couldn't fight all 3 at once. He tried to retreat. Despite holding it down, Zhuofan still received damage, and that person took off his mask, and it was Mu Hanlong from the Mu family. He seemed to want revenge on Zhuofan, who had killed Mu Jie. Zhuofan recognized him. But it wasn't Mu Hanhu. It was his brother, Mu Hanlong, whose goal was to kill Zhuofan, who had killed Mu Jie. Zhuofan bought time by ridiculing Mu Hanlong, who had the same trait as the family of traitors. The plan worked. Zhuofan quickly took out a poison bomb that allowed them to escape using masks. Sulan, who didn't have a mask, was given Zhuofan, and they went straight to the center of the artifact garden, where there was a defense system that could be penetrated if high-level warriors worked together to destroy it. Mu Hanlong, who tried to destroy the defense, was hit by a lot of electricity. He said it was impossible to last long because so many troops were brought. Meanwhile, in other places, they have felt strange and made preparations thanks to that the military base was so sturdy, he resisted the attack of the masked group, along with the Special Forces team Captain Fu Jiang. The person in the hood had already expected this, and he was confident he could make his plan work and kill both of them. He said he had 2 backups, and at that moment, Li Zhong appeared, who had been mutated like a monster. Both of them withstood attacks from him and managed to inflict wounds on their hands. But thanks to Li Zhong's mutation managed to regenerate his injuries, Fu Jiang did not want to retreat. Likewise, the Chen Sans of the 2 charged forward. Li Zhong with a loud voice destroyed the place, allowing the monsters outside to enter, and they headed straight for the Artifact Garden. Back at Artifact Park, Muhanlong says their plan is to bring 4 intermediate warlords here, including himself. 3 others will hold Chen San outside. Besides that, Jining City is currently in a state of danger due to the outbreak in Jining City. Currently, there are many battles to contain monsters. All parties help civilians and try to exterminate monsters. Sulan immediately understood that the Starfall family, especially the Li family and Mu family, had appeared planning to kill all of them who were here or in Jining City as witnesses. Zuo Fan has a brilliant plan, Muhanlong. What is this alien artifact garden you want? Asked Zuofan to Muhanlong, who immediately got angry hearing that. Zuofan took the artifact, 1D rank artifact. Thanks for the food, and why should I hand these good things over to them, right? They can eat it too. Muhanlong was very angry to see that everyone present was very surprised to see Zuofan casually eating an alien artifact that to him was like an ordinary fruit. Zuofan ordered others to eat it as well as Sulan, who was currently still weak to fight them. Some rank up, some don't, depending on the talent of the person. No matter how much fruit one eats, if there is no effect at all, it's useless. Zuofan continued to eat the alien artifact that was the target of the Mu family. He was furious to see how Zuofan and the people inside ate the fruit. Zuofan's stats were already 300, but not enough to enter an intermediate warlord level. When there was a great vibration, it was Li Zhong who had arrived at the artifact garden. This would be too troublesome given their desperate situation. Li Zhong had the monsters break down the barrier, and it would soon be destroyed. Zuofan and the others tried to find a way out because the broken defense system would automatically activate the self-destruct system. At that time, the other warriors found a locked door. Zuofan wanted to force it open with Sulan, but when he stepped forward, the door opened easily, yet touched, and they quickly rushed in. Li Zhong, who had already barged into the artifact garden, heard the sound of the self-destructing system. Zuofan's group had already left, and they arrived at the headquarters forest. Not far from here, they should return to assist the military forces. At that time, they heard a sound that saw another horde of monsters. There was a notification that the road to the military headquarters was overrun by monsters. There were also 4 monster charm devices there. Sulan made a theory whether it was possible that the outbreak in Donghai City was also caused by the Li family. If that was true, Zuofan won't let that happen again in Jining City. They were faced with an army of warlord-level monsters. Humans would be nothing against warlord-level monsters. Zuofan remembered his father's words that monsters weren't smart. They could be lured easily. Zuofan came up with a plan that sounded stupid, but everyone there agreed to carry out the plan because it was the only plan they could come up with at the moment. They headed to the secret military base. They took important objects to support their plans. There were lots of trucks lined up. Jijan said that all of this was prepared in case of an outbreak. Jijan doesn't seem to be coming with Zuofan because he has to go back to the military base to help Chen San. Zuofan and Sulan, who wanted to join the group, went to carry out the truck plan, which turned out to be carrying a monster lure device. Zuofan's plan was quite easy. He would lure other monsters to fight against the waves of monsters created by the Li family, and it worked. But Zuofan felt that these monsters were not enough a lot. There should be stronger D-rank monsters, and he happened to know of one monster who was likely the king of the B-rank monsters. He goes inside to lure out King Eagle Fox, but he is shocked to find that King Eagle Fox has already found him. The Eagle King knew from the scent that Zuofan had eaten his treasure before. The Eagle King immediately chased after him with the Eagle troops. Thanks to the 300 stats, Zuofan easily escapes avoiding the Eagle Fox King's laser attack. Zuofan, who kept being found, finally realized that King Eagle Fox already knew his scent. He ordered Sulan, who was outside, to activate the enchantment device, and it succeeded in luring Eagle Fox in another direction. Zuofan also soaked himself in skunk liquid to wash away his scent and headed for the enchantment device outside. When Zuofan was about to come out, he saw something shining brightly. Out of curiosity, he went there and was shocked to see what was there, which turned out to be an egg. That egg was the son of the Eagle Fox King, and it didn't take long for Zuofan to bring it out. Sulan, who was waiting outside, was immediately distracted by Zuofan's body odor. He even told Zuofan to sit in the back. Zuofan, who was behind, was confused as to what kind of egg it was that might not be an Eagle Fox egg. Meanwhile, on the front lines of the battle, Chensan and Fujang continued to hold off the large number of monsters, while the perpetrators just kept silent. Muhan Long arrogantly said that no one would punish them. The hooded person also said that this was not the first time something like this had happened and ordered to kill all of them. Quickly at that time, Jizhan, who had arrived there, said for the troops to retreat immediately. The monsters from Ghost Rain Mountain had arrived. The hooded people immediately realized that someone was using a similar plan to lure the mountain monsters from Ghost Rain here. Jizhan came to Chensan and asked him to retreat immediately. Let them fight with the monster. The frontline troops managed to retreat to a safe place, and Chensan praised Jizhan, but Jizhan had already told that all of these plans were made by Zuofan, praising Zuofan, who mostly surpassed his father before. Meanwhile, Zuofan, who was on top of the cliff, was looking at his handiwork. He couldn't wait to finish off Muhan Long. The plan that the Li family and Mu family had originally worked out fell apart because of one person. The Li and Mu families were dealing with the monsters that Zuofan had lured there. They had to defeat the monsters to escape. Sulan was ready to kill some monsters using his sniper rifle, but he was stopped by Zuofan, who said that their main weapon had arrived, and who else but the Eagle Fox King and his troops were already on their way. Muhan Long and his army had already escaped from the monster's siege, and Li Zhong was still looking for where Zuofan was. At that time, they saw the Eagle Fox King, who was already above them, mercilessly shooting lasers. They were able to dodge the attack, and they knew that the Eagle Fox King was a B-rank monster. They faced the attack of the flying type, King Eagle Fox. The flying-type monsters had supervision that can add damage to their attacks. One person there blocked the Eagle Fox King's other lasers, while the others tried to attack in unison. Zuofan was very happy to see that. He came forward to tell them who was being hunted now. He ordered Sulan to prepare to shoot. Zuofan was worried about that person, Xiao Cheng. He was the one who could control monsters with his flute. He could temporarily stop the Eagle Fox King, and thanks to that their attacks were able to hit him. They tried to control the Eagle Fox King, who was very angry with the sound of the flute. Xiao, who was focused on control, was shocked when a shot shattered his flute, and there was one additional shot that went through his head and killed him instantly. Muhan Long got angrier seeing that, and it came from Sulan swiftly hitting Xiao Cheng. After Xiao Cheng, who was excavating the monsters, died, surely the monsters he controlled were free and they were going on a rampage. The identities of the prey and the hunter have now been swapped. The situation is reversed. The Muhan Long is now the prey. He was angry that Xiao Cheng died without protection. Muhan Long told them to calm down and have to break through the monsters, and there was no point in fighting each other. The Eagle Fox King charged at them, and Sulan shot accurately, but was parried by Muhan Long. After parrying it, he couldn't avoid the Eagle Fox King's attack. Zuofan said that it was only natural that Muhan Long was an intermediate warlord, but the Eagle Fox King's attack must have an impact. Meanwhile, Zuofan's location was already known to Li Zhong, and he casually greeted him by saying that he was happy to meet you. Zuofan taunted them, while the Eagle Fox King continued to attack Muhan Long. Zuofan was there to share their power by angering Li Zhong, and it worked. Li Zhong, who had a grudge against Zuofan, was furious and chased Zuofan to the place where Zuofan lured him. Li Zhong quickly attacked him, but it was dodged by Zuofan, who taunted him. Li Zhong attacked him again, but Zuofan was able to hold him back, both of them mocking each other's strength. Li Zhong slightly offended Zuofan's father, who was inflexible that year, but when Zuofan asked what happened that year, Li Zhong didn't tell him because he didn't think Zuofan deserved to hear it. Li Zhong advanced to attack him likewise with Zuofan, who used all of his strongest skills, blast off. Zhuo Fan's strong attack managed to penetrate the body of Li Zhong's beast mount, and at the same time delivered a crushing blow to Li Zhong. Even if you use evil means to increase strength, it is still not yours. The dying Li Zhong regrets letting Zhuo Fan live. Zhuo Fan asked what happened back then when his father was accused of treason. Li Zhong said it was better for Zhuo Fan not to know. He didn't know how terrifying the enemy he would face. If they find you, you won't last long. Zhuo Fan already knew that there must be a lot of influential people in China behind him. Li Zhong died, and after that Su Lan came while warning Zhuo Fan, who easily slashed the monsters that attacked him to death. From Su Lan's narrative, Li Zhong was certain to die following his son in hell. Zhuo Fan knew Li Zhong was indeed strong, but he was confident that he could kill him in one strike. And now it was Mu Hanlong's turn to look deep in thought against the group of monsters. The Mu Hanlong group also realized that Li Zhong was dead because the rats controlled by Li Zhong started attacking them. Likewise with the military troops who saw an opportunity, Chen San ordered them to use full weapons and attack the Mu family to regain control of the military base. The counterattack has fallen. The Mu Hanlong family is increasingly cornered. One person carrying an axe was killed instantly by the shots from the hooded group. They are running away and are even ready to sacrifice their own comrades to be able to escape. Chen San wouldn't let them escape and ordered to follow where the Eagle Fox King went for following them to escape. Zhuo Fan, who saw that, also already knew where Mu Hanlong had run, and he was already in front of Mu Hanlong's face, who was trying to run away. Mu Hanlong was so angry. Just because of this one youngster all his plans failed. Zhuo Fan was confident that he could kill Mu Hanlong, who was already injured and exhausted. Zhuo Fan immediately attacked him. Mu Hanlong slyly threw several grenades which hit the place where Zhuo Fan ran, but Zhuo Fan managed to dodge and directly attacked Mu Hanlong's thigh. "You think I won't know how you and your brother fight?" Zhuo Fan already knew the ins and outs of the military base, and he could easily find a way to evade it. Mu Hanlong was very amazed by Zhuo Fan's abilities, and had to kill him now. Zhuo Fan wanted to end Mu Hanlong's life immediately, but he begged not to kill him in exchange for he would put Zhuo Fan into the Mu family because there was Mu Yinyue, who Zhuo Fan saved first. Zhuo Fan just laughed. "You think I'm a kid?" Zhuo Fan already knew that the Mu Hanlong family and Mu Yinyue family were rivals. From that chat, Mu Hanlong saw an opportunity and immediately attacked Zhuo Fan. But Zhuo Fan was able to avoid his attack and immediately activated his sword to fight back. But Mu's defense and strength were really strong. Even when here he was injured after leveling up to the intermediate warlord, one's attributes would change, and this Mu Hanlong was strong among the warriors of the intermediate warlord. At that moment, Zhuo Fan's sword pierced Mu Hanlong's shield and couldn't be released. Mu Hanlong took out a crossbow and shot an arrow at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan was able to dodge and tied Mu Hanlong's legs with the monster's reins. Those who always cheat will be fooled by others. Zhuo Fan charged forward and slashed him and stabbed Mu Hanlong's body to death. Zhuo Fan wins. For the injured person, Mu Hanlong is strong enough. Even in a dying state, Mu Hanlong can still threaten Zhuo Fan with the nonsense of the Mu family that will kill him. Other people also said that before dying, "Why don't you say something useful, or maybe repent before dead?" Zhuo Fan, who was there, saw something great. It was that there were two people holding the Eagle Fox King. The Eagle Fox King attacked with his lasers, but both of them were able to directly block the attack. Zhuo Fan saw the two of them flying, which means they are at the advanced warlord level. When a soldier's stats are over 700, they will become an advanced warlord. Their strength is extraordinary, and one of the signs is that they have the ability to fly. The Eagle Fox King attacked, but this time it was stronger, knocking them both down. Zhuo Fan saw that, and was sure that the two of them weren't in Advanced Warlord yet, but they were approaching to enter the Advanced Warlord realm. One person carrying a spear, the other two discs. The two discs were directly thrown through King Eagle Fox's wings and made King Eagle Fox retreat. The one wielding the disc is the commander telling them to repent, but the one wielding the spear shamelessly wants Commander Ding to let them go. Commander Ding was furious to hear that and attacked him, but his attacks were easily parried. The man said that if they continued fighting, they would be seriously injured. He said he was not the mastermind and just the executor. He promised he would leave Jinning City immediately. With many enemies in Jinning City, it would be easier to let them go. Hearing that Commander Ding made a quick decision, he told them to leave, and if they saw in the city Jinning Commander Ding will mobilize all military power to bring them to justice. The Zhuofan that the person passed by was silent, as he stared at her with a stifling aura. Zhuofan still couldn't accept that the men were just being let go, while Sulan was there telling him that Commander Ding could beat them, but it would take effort, and would definitely hurt him too. If Commander Ding is injured, Jinning City will definitely be in chaos. Those people were very dangerous, and they had to be careful in their actions. Zhuofan understood that. And Commander Ding, who sensed their presence, told them to appear immediately. Commander Ding himself, real name is Ding Ling. He praised Zhuofan temporarily because the timing was bad. He ordered the military troops to immediately take care of the outbreak that occurred in the city, and they all went straight to the city. Likewise, Zhuofan was currently worried about Pupan and the other guild members who were in the city because the city's condition was so chaotic and dire. He took a phone that informed the conditions there with Sulan heading to the city. When Zhuofan arrived and saw the hordes of monsters attacking one place, inside was Ru Jie, who was giving first aid to the injured soldier, and he was separating the people inside who were blaming each other. Pupan was also there. He saw Ru Jie, who was so angry for the first time. Monsters had started to enter Xinjiang, and Ku Feng, who was the protector, was already surrounded, and there was one monster that attacked Ru Jie. At that time there was a single arrow that directly penetrated the monster's body. The arrow was so strong that even people at the warlord level found it difficult to use it. Zhuofan, who had not been able to enter, said to Sulan that he could save Ru Jie. Zhuofan and Sulan went straight inside to save the civilians. Zhuofan had already arrived there. They were very happy to see Zhuofan, who had arrived. Zhuofan ordered them to quickly kill the monsters and bring the civilians to safety. Even outside the military, they had started to deal with the monsters that had spread out. Thanks to Zhuofan, they were able to summon help. Everyone there was rescued. The military colonel greeted Zhuofan like his superior. Even Commander Ding Ling asked Zhuofan after this to meet him. They were surprised by everything that happened. What was done while at the outbreak military base had been conquered, but the damage to Jinning City was so severe. Zhuofan, who had been having a hard day, fell unconscious, and he woke up in his house, and there was Sulan, who had taken care of him while he was unconscious. In the dining room, Zhuofan saw the news that Jinning City had conquered outbreak. Zhuofan fainted only from exhaustion and the effect of eating too many artifacts. 3 days he fainted, and at that time, his status increased. The news also said that the Li family was the victim, not the perpetrator. Zhuofan was furious to hear such ridiculous news. Sulan said that this order was conveyed by the capital's higher-ups. Zhuofan finally knew how dangerous the people he would fight in the future would be. The outbreak carried out by the Li family and Mu family in Jinning City has been completed. The search for victims continues, including the Li family, who are actually the main perpetrators. The news told everyone that they were victims and not perpetrators. Zhuofan couldn't accept it. Hearing that Commander Ding and Pu Hao didn't even clarify it, if they did that, they would also be in danger. It was also the case with Zhuofan's father. The people behind the scenes who commanded them were too much influence in the country of China. Even military commanders were able to protect Zhuofan's father in secret by being transferred to the Sky Prison. Zhuofan was grateful for the effort, because otherwise his father might have been killed. Sulan told him not to worry about Zhuofan and to be careful with those people. Zhuofan will confidently become strong to be able to avenge the people who made him suffer. Sulan left after saying that Zhuofan's things were in the next room. Zhuofan stood up and remembered the things went straight to the next room. He saw the eggs were healthy. Zhuofan was still wondering what was in the egg. Was it an eagle fox or some other animal? While curiously Zhuofan tapped on the egg, and unexpectedly it hatched. He was very confused by its contents. The beast was like a small dog with long ears and green eyes. Zhuofan finally took the dog to the animal hospital, and Zhuofan was still sure that this was a monster child. But the doctor said that this was just a small dog, and luckily it was brought here quickly. If it was even a little late, this dog could die. Zhuofan still doubted that the dog came out of the egg and was closely guarded by the Eagle Fox King. It couldn't just be a small dog. Zhuofan told the doctor that he found the dog and brought it here immediately. Zhuofan, knowing where Zhuofan was, Rujie and Pupan went there. They saw that there was a cute dog belonging to Zuofan. Asked this dog's name. Zuofan, with bad reasons, said his name was Little Gray. After seeing that Little Gray had gotten better, Zuofan took him home. He wouldn't let an ordinary person take care of him. A few days later, Zuofan was picked up by Pupan and Xinjian, who said that Commander Ding Ling had called Pu Hao to invite Zuofan to his place. Zuofan was very curious as to why Commander Ding wanted to see him so badly. Arriving at the military headquarters, they were greeted by Chen San, who was still injured. Zuofan was told that Commander Ding wanted to speak alone with him, and the others were a little disappointed because they also wanted to see Commander Ding Ling. A year ago, Commander Ding had already reached the intermediate warlord boundary and was one step closer to advance warlord. Thanks to the military, Commander Ding in Jining City suppressed the other side's power. Xinjiang wonders why only Zuofan was summoned. Chen San reassures him, maybe the commander has his own plans. Arriving at Commander Ding's room, Zuofan was greeted coldly by Commander Ding, who he said had been waiting for him for a long time. Zuofan asked why want to see him so formally, and Commander Ding emphasized that there were people above who were pressuring him to get rid of Zuofan immediately. Hearing that, Zuofan's instinct immediately alerted. He asked if it was true that the commander was cooperating with them. He was surprised that Commander Ding answered by attacking Zuofan while mentioning the word death to him. Zuofan could only endure it, and even then he was thrown out of the room, feeling that the commander was too strong to resist. Zuofan chose to run away, but Commander Ding had already predicted it. He was already in front of Zuofan and attacked Zuofan with his disc. Zuofan stood up. He did not expect that the Commander Ding he respected was actually a criminal. Commander Ding regretted that the talented Zuofan had to die here. Zuofan was too young to understand the true reality of this world. It is the strong who survive in the world. Commander Ding didn't want to waste his time. He activated his gun and threw it at Zuofan, who dodged the powerful attack, and he barely managed to dodge it. The floating step of luminosity skill requires a lot of energy. He must be able to escape quickly, seeing how Zuofan is currently cornered. Commander Ding admires him. Even though he is in a state between life and death, he continues to find a way to live. It reminds him to stay away from Zuo's father, Fan. He was testing how long Zuofan could last. Zuofan continued to fend off successive attacks. From Commander Ding to the system giving suggestions for upgrading the floating step of luminosity skill to rank C. He didn't have to wait long because Zuofan's life was at stake to increase the skill. The improvement is quite good. The speed can increase by 50%. With his current speed, Zuofan immediately fled to the roof. Commander Ding was amazed to see Zuofan, who kept his strength. Zuofan, who was on the roof and about to escape, was stopped because in front of him was a trap. Commander Ding praised Zuofan because not only did he not give up, but Zuofan even found a gap to escape. He said that Zuofan met the qualifications. Zuofan, who was stuck, calmed himself down. He had to go out and meet Xinjian and expose Commander Ding's crimes. But just then, Commander Ding's voice told him to get off quickly because the test was over. Zuofan was shocked to hear the word test. At that time, he fell right in front of Commander Ding. He was confused. Why did this office have such a troublesome mechanism? Commander Ding told him to stop and sit down to rest, but he still didn't believe Commander Ding. Saw how suspicious Zuofan was, giving him a letter and a photo. In the photo, you can see that there are 4 people from the left. Commander Ding is crying. The letter contains sentences before his father's trouble happened. There is a pen note asking Commander Ding Ling to test Zuofan. If Zuofan fails the test, don't let Zuofan get into trouble. But before Commander Ding could continue his story, he told Zuofan to treat his wound first. Zuofan tended to his own wound and covered the wound with bandages. He was still in pain after taking Commander Ding's attack on purpose, because Zuofan's father asked him to seriously test him. Zuofan didn't expect that Commander Ding was his father's school friend. Commander said it was normal. Your mother also took part in building the security system in this office and the defense system in the military base. That explains why the door in the artifact garden opened by itself when Zuofan was in. In front of him, the commander mentioned that Zuofan himself did not know that his mother was skilled in technology. Meanwhile, because Zuofan has passed the test, Zuofan must understand the journey to reveal the truth behind his father's incident. Zhuo Fan must enter the whirlpool from which it is impossible to get out. The enemies are not only intermediate warlords, there are also advanced warlords and even powerful war gods. Powerful War God itself is a group of people who stand above all Starfall warriors. Commander Ding asked if Zhuo Fan was ready to meet them. "Are you ready to die?" Zhuo Fan said that he was never afraid of death. After the incident in Jining City, he would not back down. Commander Ding praised his answer. Zhuo Fan even passed with top marks. If you want to get involved in this matter, Zhuo Fan must pass the test with maximum marks. Commander Ding gave him an iron box that Zhuo Fan's father had hidden in the military base's safe, an item that Zhuo Fan thought was missing because it was no longer there. The commander says he has to take it. Otherwise it will be destroyed by those who have been watching the military base for a long time. Inside are clues without any real evidence. Inside are a round mirror and a letter. Zhuo Fan read the letter, which turned out to be about S City, which was originally just an ordinary city, and now has become the biggest monster nest in Asia. S City's destruction became a high-ranking failure in China, because S City used to be the strongest line of defense, but was now a den of monsters. And because of that incident, Zhuo Hui was made a scapegoat, and was sentenced to harsh punishment. With his great accomplishments, Zhuo Hui shouldn't be punished so severely. But the destruction of Big S City made him severely punished, and the evidence Zhuo Hui left behind was in S City. Commander Ding has been told, "Where is that place?" But that place was designed Zhuo Fan's mother, and only Zhuo Fan that can unlock it. Commander Ding's excuse just now was to test Zhuo Fan. Whether he could enter the dangerous S City, Zhuo Fan understood. In order to prove his father's innocence, he had decided to go to S City. Commander Ding accepted him and told Zhuo Fan to prepare to leave for S City. One sunny day in first-grade high school, the noise of students was heard as they were enjoying a game called Slave Hunting RPG, which was popular recently. The game collects heroes and develops their fighting abilities. The concept of the game is very crazy because the heroes are captured to be used as slaves. Then it was shown a male student named Jin Daim, and another big student named Kang Donggu, who was used by a bully to become a slave. Jin is currently being a slave by his bullies to be allowed to fight against other slave. Jin at that time put up a stance even though he was very lazy and unsure about participating in that useless duel. Despite hating it, Jin seemed to be seen waiting for instructions to be given by his employer, Kim Kong-woo. Behind him was Kong-woo, who looked so excited by telling Jin to come forward that the fight between the slaves started. Jin tried to attack and mustered all the strength he had to fight his enemy while calling out the name of his master, but his body was too thin and weak to fight the enemy, who had a bigger body in front of him. He finally fell like he had been rammed by a Red Bull. The opponent's employer was impressed by the victory of the fight and praised the greatness of his slave named Kang Donggu. Meanwhile, Jin felt excruciating pain all over his body and wondered why Donggu could be so heartless, even though they were both loser and a loser shouldn't hurt each other. Jin, who was declared defeated, was immediately ridiculed and laughed at by the other bullies. They think that Jin is very weak and useless. Jin also felt ashamed and insecure because the previous fight was witnessed by a classmate he likes, and that girl named Suji. The big problem comes from Kong-woo, the bully who has made him a slave. Jin's defeat in a useless duel made Kong-woo angry and wanted to torture Jin. Kong-woo snapped at Jin, who was very scared because he could not accept this defeat. He also intended to punish Jin for his unsatisfactory performance. Kong-woo's friends later commented that Jin might have to be taught even harder lessons to become strong. Jin tried to apologize through tears to Kang-woo for his mistake, and he also said that he would try to win another fight one day. Kang-woo, who didn't like sweet talk, then took out and turned on the stun gun from his pocket that he brought from home because he had expected Jin's defeat. Suddenly this made Jin shiver in fear and begged Kang-woo for forgiveness not to torture him. But Kang-woo didn't want to listen to him, and without further ado, immediately pointed the stun gun at Jin with the hope that Jin would not embarrass him again. Jin immediately screamed very loudly when the blazing electricity touched his body, while admitting that he was a slave of the thugs. In the afternoon after school, now Jin has come home. When he got home, he saw Jin coming home and calling his mother's name. His mother, who had just woken up from overslept intending to prepare dinner, but Jin didn't want to bother his mother by saying that he wasn't hungry at the moment. Jin also seemed to be in a hurry to go to his room because he didn't want to worry his mother. After seeing his son's body covered with bruises and traces of electric shock, Jin thought that Kang-woo's actions were really outrageous, because of course Jin wouldn't become strong after being electrocuted. Besides that, Jin was very annoyed because Kang-woo forced him to become a jockey in an RPG game that was popular recently, that many people played, Slave Hunting RPG. Jin doesn't like it at all, and has never played a game with such a large size and specifications. But Jin couldn't refuse Kang-woo's request, because if it wasn't implemented immediately, then Jin would be the target of an electric shock device like before. But suddenly, when Jin scrolled down his cell phone screen, he found something interesting. Unexpectedly, he found an advertisement for a game called SV Hunting RPG. He thought this game was an imitation of the RPG game that Jin wanted to install before. In his statement, it was written that this game could allow the players to freely turn bullies and perpetrators of violence into slaves. Jin thought that maybe the creator of this game had been the same victim of bullying as himself. However, when he was about to install the application, suddenly there was an incoming message from Kim Kang-woo telling Jin to come meet him at the city park. Jin was immediately shocked and rushed out while cursing because he was annoyed because school was over, but he was still called like a slave. Unfortunately, when he got to the park, Jin was beaten by Kang-woo. He hit Jin because he didn't have any money with him. Jin tried to defend himself by saying that Kang-woo didn't talk about money at all, and Kang-woo grabbed his face because Jin was so stupid and insensitive that Kang-woo wanted his money. As a result, Kang-woo's goal of extorting Jin ran aground, and he ordered Jin to return to the house to bring money. But Jin avoided it because there was no money at home either. Kang-woo was getting furious, and he suggested Jin just steal his mother's money. At that time, friends from Kang-woo also came and bullied Jin, explaining that Jin's family was very poor. Kang-woo's friend also added that Jin was actually known as a beggar when he was in elementary school. Kang-woo's friend also said frankly that Jin's mother was suffering from an illness. Kang-woo was enthusiastic about the story told by his friend and asked Jin directly whether his mother was indeed sick or not. While Jin's expression changed to one of anger, Kang-woo assumed that Jin would of course get the insurance money if his mother died due to illness. Jin stared at Kang-woo with hatred because his mother's condition should not be made fun of. Jin clenched his fists while mentally saying that this Kang-woo was a very troubling bully. The heart and mind of the soul to kill Kang-woo immediately flowed rapidly in Jin's mind. He really wanted to eliminate the bullies in front of him. But his intention to eradicate the burden of society is bad when Kang-woo asks about Jin's very annoying, angry expression. Jin actually hid his true feelings, and he said that his eyes just flashed. Kang-woo, who looked annoyed, then threatened to kill Jin if he put on an expression of disapproval like just now. And because Jin had no money, Kang-woo and his accomplices left empty-handed. They left Jin alone with thoughts piling up in his head. The sounds of insults and insults coming from his own head kept haunting him. He felt sorry for allowing his mother to be wronged, and did not put up any resistance at all to defend her. While those thoughts were running through his mind, Jin's cell phone suddenly rang, which startled him. He received a game notification from his cell phone, which said that the SV Hunting RPG game he had seen had been successfully installed. Jin felt awkward because he himself had never downloaded the game, and when the game was opened, he was surprised because the existing game system was running automatically without him touching it, and there was an instruction stating that Jin had to approach one of the bullies around him. Feeling curious, he followed the instructions given by the game. He kept walking until he arrived at a place where Kang-woo and his gang were gathering. The game instructs Jin to point the camera at Kang-woo the bully, to throw a chain of catchers that can catch thugs to make them into slaves. Jin didn't know what would happen if he carried out the game's instructions, but out of curiosity, he immediately pressed the button according to what was in the game. Suddenly, from Jin's cell phone, something came out and hit Kang-woo's face. Kang-woo's friends were very surprised and realized that Jin was secretly behind the wall. Jin himself felt both amazed and panicked because this was the first time he saw something unusual happening before his eyes. Kang-woo's friends were very surprised and realized that Jin was secretly behind the wall. Jin himself felt both amazed and panicked because this was the first time he saw something unusual happening before his eyes. Kang-woo's friends were very surprised and realized that Jin was secretly behind the wall. Jin himself felt both amazed and panicked because this was the first time he saw something unusual happening before his eyes. Unfortunately, the game command to catch Kang-woo failed. Jin immediately broke out in cold sweat and was frightened because he didn't know what to do next. Kang-woo at that time felt a little dizzy because his face had been hit by a hard and large object. Kang-woo then approached Jin with a slightly hurt face and threatened to hurt Jin right then and there. Jin tried to defend himself and said that what just happened was by accident. Kang-woo didn't believe Jin's words because the proof was that something that turned out to hit Kang-woo's face was a big and long chain. I was so annoyed that Kang-woo immediately threw the heavy chain in front of the genie to the point where Jin's small body fell over backwards. The chain hit his stomach right, so he choked and said that the chain was not the one he brought. It came from inside his cell phone. Kang-woo's gang is confused and their mouths drop open after hearing the genie's words. And Kang-woo says what a joke the son of a bitch is doing. Their emotions run high, and there Kang-woo orders his minions to catch the genie and take off his clothes. When he was about to take off his clothes, Jin's cell phone fell, and it certainly caught Kang-woo's attention to pick it up. Jin had restrained Kang-woo from taking his cell phone, but his efforts were in vain. His cell phone was snatched away by Kang-woo. Kang-woo mocked Jin's broken cell phone and insulted how poor he was, while on the other hand Jin begged Kang-woo not to touch his cell phone. For Jin, the cell phone is one of the treasures he has had for years. Jin still remembers that when he was in 4th grade, his friends used to have different cell phones, with Jin who could only stare and be ignored by his classmates because little Jin didn't have a cell phone. Once upon a time, Jin sullenly asked his mother to buy him a cell phone so he could hang out and be invited to play with his peers. But Jin was very stubborn and accused his mother of being the cause of Jin being shunned by all of his classmates. Jin's mother was surprised to hear his words, and for the sake of her son's happiness, the mother sincerely spent all her savings to buy Jin a cell phone. Since getting a new cell phone, Jin has become more approachable to his friends, especially when he was in elementary school. Jin was known as a reliable gamer because of his excellent gaming skills. Unfortunately, times are changing fast, and new cell phones with high-end specifications come and go. When Jin's friends were able to buy a new and more sophisticated cell phone, Jin was again ignored and rarely asked to play by his friends. They thought Jin's cell phone was old school, and it was better to just throw it away. Little Jin felt sad at his friend's words, and he then approached his mother and asked to be given a new cell phone. But this time the genie saw another view. From up there he saw the landlady's mother scolding her mother. The landlord said that her mother had gone too far because she could not pay the rent, which was 3 months in arrears. He told Miss Jin to move out of this rented house immediately, but Miss Jin begged the landlord to give her another chance and time, because they had no other place to live. Jin was very surprised, and did not expect that his mother had such a big burden in her life. The incident stuck in Jin's mind, and from then on, he was determined not to force his mother to buy anything again. Kang-woo was amazed by the slave's behavior. He then took this opportunity to order Jin to beg while crawling between his legs. Jin said that he would carry out his orders, even if it meant throwing away all his pride. Jin immediately crawled between Kang-woo's legs, but Kang-woo changed his mind and said that he would not return Jin's cell phone. With so, Kang-woo slammed the phone to make the casing destroyed. Jin was wide-eyed and never thought that the precious treasure given to him by his mother would be destroyed like this. Kang-woo and his friends laughed at Jin's attitude that looked desperate and helpless. There Jin seemed to be holding back his anger and wanted to vent it out, but he is in a state of awry as he is certainly not capable of taking on this one gang alone. Even his intentions had been defeated because for now it was impossible for him to fight Kang-woo, and only a miracle could save Jin at that time. Then, without knowing why, suddenly the SV hunting RPG game that Jin was playing just now entered his brain. Jin was able to see the full screen of the game as if he was playing in VR when he wasn't. Jin was shocked at all the strange things that happened today. He said that this really doesn't make sense because how can a game system be integrated into the human body? He was still wearing an amazed face while seeing the components in the game moving each other regularly and quickly. He also wondered if there was a possibility that this game really happened and was real. At that time, a window like the one on a computer appeared in front of Jin, telling Jin to immediately catch the bullies and make them slaves. And the target of the bullying that was the target of this game was Kang-woo. Little by little, Jin's confidence begins to grow to beat Kang-woo, the bully. Although he still had doubts, he started to clench his fists. The burning enthusiasm pushed Jin to get up and fight. Without thinking, Jin stepped forward and prepared to aim his punch at Kang-woo. Jin said that he would not be silent anymore and would fight Kang Woo because that was the only cell phone that Kang Woo was not allowed to touch. So the two of them were then involved in a quite fierce fight. Jin felt he didn't have enough time to give him a punch, so he immediately dodged and took the iron chain that Kang Woo threw earlier. Kang Woo looked confused at Jin, who started to dare to fight him, and Jin then hit him in the face with the iron chain until he was shocked. Kang Woo lay down and fainted, while on the other hand his gangmates were shocked. After seeing his boss being treated disrespectfully by his own slave, Jin felt sure that his punch earlier had hit the most sensitive area on Kang Woo's body, and after that an iron chain started emitting light and wrapped around the neck of Kang Woo, who had been defeated. Jin put on a happy and satisfied face because his decision to fight Kang Woo came to a brilliant result. But Kang Woo's friend immediately attacked Jin for revenge. Unknown to them, Jin saw the RPG screen had started to change and told himself that Kang Woo's condition was completely under his control, so he could order Kang Woo to do anything according to the orders Jin gave him. Jin told Kang Woo to be aware and protect Jin. Suddenly something strange happened to Kang Woo's body, where an in-game system began to tamper with his movements. Kang Woo's body looks radiant, which is a sign that the game system has succeeded in controlling Kang Woo's mind. Kang Woo's friends got even angrier hearing that bullshit. They all immediately aimed fists at Jin, but their intention was thwarted, because now Kang Woo shot and instead protected him. Kang Woo started hitting his friends one by one quickly like an assassin. His friends were slammed and they groaned in pain. They were shocked because Kang Woo suddenly changed. In the blink of an eye, the genie paid close attention to Kang Woo's drastic changes. He was very stunned by what was happening right now, like a robot obeying his master. Kang Woo said that he had completed the task ordered by the genie. Jin couldn't believe what had just happened. He was sure that Kang Woo wasn't making this up or joking. One of Kang Woo's friends was confused by Kang Woo's attitude. Meanwhile, Kang Woo seemed not to care about his friends. He was waiting for the next order from the genie that he considered as his master. Instantly flashed memories of how Kang Woo treated Jin inhumanely and painfully. Jin, who started to dare, immediately said that Kang Woo had to beat up his friends. Kang Woo obeyed his master's orders. At that time, the aura from Kang Woo was so scary and made his friends tremble. Jin stood behind Kang Woo and he didn't expect that Kang Woo had really become a servant for him and beat all the bullies quickly. Kang Woo, who had completed his task, tried to approach Jin, who at that time looked scared because he thought that Kang Woo might change to the way he used to be, the cruel Kang Woo. Instead of hitting Jin, Kang Woo knelt down and apologized for all the rough things Kang Woo had done to him. He also promised to be loyal to Jin and become his slave. Jin was even more surprised by Kang Woo's words just now. He didn't expect that Kang Woo would go this far. The story changed when high school students were about to walk to school while enjoying the cool weather. Unbeknownst to them, Donggu was being surrounded by bullies and led to an alley near the school. The bullies intercepted Donggu for a simple reason, namely because Donggu did not welcome them. They teased Donggu while calling Donggu an elephant because of his large body, but the bully's head was suddenly kicked from. Behind him, he complained while rubbing his head, which was a little sore. But when he turned around, the bully was shocked because he saw Kang Woo was carrying Jin like a crown prince, a situation that was completely reversed from before. Kang Woo came dashing like a bodyguard who had been trained for years. The naughty bullies were then caught by Kang Woo, so they couldn't bother Donggu anymore. Donggu felt indebted to Jin, and he thanked Jin profusely for helping him. It's just that Donggu asked Jin about why Kang Woo suddenly obeyed all his orders. Jin replied that Kang Woo had now become Jin's errand because of yesterday's strange incident. Something strange also happened yesterday. Jin had the opportunity to win an item that could increase the fighting abilities of the slaves. At that time, Jin tried to beat Kang Woo's friends in the hope that they could become little slaves, and he could get the item. But there was no reaction. Unlike Kang Woo, who was just beaten, immediately became an obedient human who could be given orders. The game screen then explained the reason Jin couldn't make Kang Woo's friends as slaves. It was because Jin had poor leadership skills and needed to be improved. But Jin, who had just tried the game, was a bit confused about how to improve his leadership abilities, when he was thinking about a strategy to developing his leadership abilities. Kang Woo's mind suddenly returned to normal as before. He was like a person who woke up from a hypnotic state. He was a little confused when he saw a strange thing in front of him. Kang Woo glared and was shocked when he saw that his friends had fallen and fainted. Jin also began to realize that Jin's current condition had returned to normal mode, but he still didn't understand why that could happen. Kang-woo, who knew that something was wrong with him, immediately approached Jin while preparing to hit him. Jin immediately told Kang-woo to stop attacking him, and a new skill was opened. Jin was finally told by the game that he could utilize the skill of giving orders to Kang-woo, but it couldn't change Kang-woo's state of mind, like when he was under control. As a result of Jin's order, the fist that Kang-woo wanted to throw was suddenly stopped. The story then turned to Kang-woo, who, when the genie brought him to school, under Jin's control, Kang-woo was unable to move his limbs. Kang-woo felt ridiculous because he was now more like a doll than a human. He asked the genie to release him, but Jin told Kang-woo to shut up and get out of his sight and hide until he told him to come back. Kang-woo then went to carry out orders from Jin, and then he continued chatting with Dong-gu. He told Dong-gu that he had the ambition to eradicate all bullies at school using Kang-woo. But Jin wanted to do this in front of everyone, so he needed support from Dong-gu to help launch the action. Dong-gu was unsure and asked whether Jin's plan would go smoothly or not. Jin smiled and tried to encourage Dong-gu and told Dong-gu to always think positively. Dong-gu was a little relieved after hearing Jin's words. He rushed away to call other fellow noobs. Jin also believed that this plan would succeed suddenly from a distance. Jin heard a woman's voice chatting. When he turned around, Jin was surprised by what he saw. The woman who was talking was none other than her own crush, Suji. Jin looked stunned at the beauty with the cuteness that radiated from Suji's face. When Suji passed in front of Jin's heart was pounding like crazy, as if it wanted to burst with happiness. If Jin wasn't a victim of bullying, maybe he would have been more confident to talk and approach Suji. But unfortunately, his sense of insecurity was higher. Jin thought that he could get Suji and become a partner if he was free from the bullying that had befallen him. Jin was absorbed in his hallucinations until he realized that Dong-gu had arrived and called him. Dong-gu came with his friends. They actually were able to eradicate this troubling bully. Jin tries to convince them that the behavior of the bullying can be overcome. Jin stood in front of the class filled with delinquent children who were Kang-woo's friends. They had heard the words of Jin, who was playing strong. Kang-woo's gang then left the class while putting on a fierce face. One of them immediately pushed Jin to the ground. Kang-woo's friends who bullied Jin yesterday demanded an explanation for why Kang-woo hit them yesterday. Jin did not explain why, and instead challenged the bullies by saying that they would kneel before him. Dong-gu's friends kept cheering Jin on and cheering for Jin to keep going, smiling. Jin knew that the decision to work on these bullies was the right one. Jin immediately shouted Kang-woo's name loudly, and from a distance he heard hurried footsteps. It turned out that the person who approached Jin was not Kang-woo, but one of Kang-woo's friends who came from a different class. The big man immediately slapped Jin until he fell. Jin was irritated at the person who slapped him just now, because the person who had come was an uninvited guest. Jin knew who the big man was. He was Kim Byung-tae, one of Kang-woo's friends who came from a different class. Jin threatens Byung-tae that Kang-woo will beat him. Byung-tae is as confused by the genie's words, while Kang-woo's friend then explains that yesterday Kang-woo suddenly attacked them for no reason after hearing the genie's words. Meanwhile, Jin keeps calling out Kang-woo's name to beat Byung-tae and friends. Other students who saw Jin began to think that Jin was strange and like someone who was not in his right mind. Jin was drenched in sweat and started to worry because he called Kang-woo many times, but he couldn't see his nose. Then the notification system informed that Kang-woo could not answer. Byung-tae then looked at Jin very annoyed. He asked Byung-tae's friends to drag Jin to the toilet and teach him a lesson. Dong-gu could only remain silent as he watched Jin, who had been taken away. While in the bathroom, Jin was beaten and kicked by Byung-tae. Byung-tae's friends saw Jin with very satisfied faces, and it turned out that in the bathroom there were female students watching. Jin started to panic and lost ideas. Byung-tae then forced Jin to tell him why Kang-woo could change his attitude and attack other friends. Jin started to feel scared because the scenario he had created to eradicate the bullies was not what he had imagined. Jin thinks hard about whether anyone can be made into a slave. For a while, one of Byung-tae's friends warns him to be careful of Jin, because Jin might do something like yesterday and trouble them all. Byung-tae then looked for another idea that could make Jin open his mouth. He told Jin to take off his pants. Jin was reluctant, but he was very afraid of Byung-tae, who would almost slap him again, so he agreed to Byung-tae's request. Jin felt really stupid because he didn't expect this to happen. There he began to unbuckle his belt, and then the underpants that Jin was wearing were pink with a heart pattern. Jin felt helpless and let the women and bullies laugh at him. Byung-tae asked Jin to take off his underwear, otherwise Byung-tae would slap his face even harder. The situation was even more precarious and abysmal. Jin was shaking a lot and didn't know what else to do. Slowly, when Jin was about to open his pants, the toilet door opened quite hard because it was forcibly broken down by someone. The bullies and girls watched in shock. Byung-tae is bothered by Donggu's sudden appearance. Byung-tae says that today's losers are full of drama and whims. Jin asked, why did Donggu approach him and not just wait? Donggu replied that he didn't really have the guts, but he still stepped forward because he wanted to save Jin. Donggu really believed Jin's sentence would overcome bullying cases that occurred at school. Donggu really had high hopes for Jin, so he just trusted Jin. Hearing this, Jin was immediately taken aback because he didn't expect Donggu to believe in him wholeheartedly. Jin's enthusiasm started to flare up again. He felt he had to be responsible for the words he had put out. Jin started looking for a way out, and finally he got an idea. He told Donggu to pretend to be a bully, and asked Jin to hand over everything Jin owned to Donggu. Donggu complied and told Jin to give up everything he had. In the process of this play, Byung-tae and his friends were surprised by the behavior of the two noobs. Suddenly from the game screen, Donggu was identified as a bully. Jin immediately said that he would give all of Kangwoo's responsibilities as a slave to Donggu, who was his successor. The glowing chain appeared in front of him, and Jin immediately threw the chain at Donggu until the chain suddenly wrapped around his neck. Jin finally had an idea that he would use Donggu as a substitute for Kangwoo. Donggu was wide-eyed because suddenly his strength increased and his hands moved on their own. On this occasion, Jin finally got an adaptive potion item to increase his slave's attacking skills, and he then used the item into Donggu's body. Suddenly Donggu's face hardened, and he looked like a very hungry lion. The effect of the item he felt was that he got the skill to do sumo. Byung-tae and his friends laughed at Donggu's strange behavior. While acting victorious, Jin smiles and feels optimistic that his plan to make Byung-tae lose will work. Meanwhile, Donggu was still curious and asked why his body was moving on its own, like someone was controlling it. He informs that Donggu is now under Jin's control. Byung-tae was both disgusted and amused to see Donggu fighting like a wrestler. He said, "Does that Donggu want to fight us using sumo?" First, Jin thought about what kind of sumo technique could make Byung-tae hurt. He then chose the arm tread technique that could make his opponent hit with enormous force. Jin knows this technique because when he was in elementary school, he always won sumo matches in the game. Jin pushed him using the palm move, making one of his opponents suddenly confused and fell down. Donggu was surprised because he didn't expect that he could do sumo moves. Jin immediately ordered Donggu to attack the other bullies, and they were hit with so many palms that they had no chance to counterattack. Donggu's attack knocks the others unconscious, and Donggu laughs because now he can beat up the bullies. But apparently Byung-tae still didn't give up. He became very angry at Donggu, who had attacked him. Donggu was suddenly scared, and Jin advised Donggu to stay calm and not be afraid, because if he panicked, the power of the item that had been used could not be used optimally. Jin continues to motivate Donggu not to back down from his actions, because this is the right moment to fight back. Donggu then gets an additional skill that can increase the attack damage dealt to the enemy. Donggu then took a position like a Red Bull and he made a face full of anger. Byung-tae began to feel something was wrong with Donggu's behavior. Donggu fought Byung-tae using a palm technique coupled with additional sumo skills, so that his power and damage increased dramatically. He was quite overwhelmed when holding back and blocking Donggu's attack, but he finally managed to stop Donggu's hand movements, which surprised Donggu because Byung-tae locked his hands tightly. Jin also advised Donggu to use another hand to get free from Byung-tae's entanglement, but unfortunately, Donggu did it too late. Byung-tae then turned Donggu around and hit Donggu on the back many times while saying that should he hit his back again. The word again implied that Donggu had been treated like this before. Jin also told Donggu to avoid, but strangely he couldn't control Donggu's mind, which was in pain, when Byung-tae hit Donggu on the back until he suddenly became weak. He seemed to be in excruciating pain and the genie asked if he was okay or not. Jin also told Donggu to get up because he was afraid that Byung-tae could attack at any time. Donggu shed tears and he said that he was very afraid to fight Byung-tae. Jin suspects that panic is the reason behind Donggu's guts dying to return to fighting. He believes that Donggu is hiding something. According to him, Donggu seems to have had a bitter experience in the past with Byung-tae, which has traumatized Donggu to this day. Jin then ordered Donggu to attack Byung-tae while closing his eyes. This was done so that Donggu focused without attacking and not being triggered by his trauma to Byung-tae. Jin guides Donggu on which move and what move he should choose to overthrow Byungtae. Unfortunately, he was again confused and managed to find Donggu's weak point that made Donggu's concentration break, namely his back. Jin felt confused about what to do next, because he still didn't understand what was making Donggu panic. The game system then sends a recording from the waiting memory, containing the unpleasant experience that Donggu had as a result of Byungtae's actions. Jin then looked at the recording carefully, so it was told that when he was in middle school, Donggu was a bookworm and quiet student. Without knowing the reason, Donggu, who was immersed in his own world reading a book, was suddenly hit by Byungtae while saying that he was just kidding. But slowly, on the pretext that he was joking, it was enough to disturb Donggu, so he tried to complain to the school about the acts of violence he had experienced. Byungtae unknowingly felt angry because his actions were reported and known by the teacher. Not accepting what Donggu did, he took Donggu to the toilet and hit Donggu back by hitting him on the back many times until he cried and his back was bruised and even bleeding. After seeing information about Donggu's traumatic past, Jin immediately tried to stop the attack and took off his school uniform. Donggu asked what Jin was doing to him. Jin explained to Donggu that he had to be able to let go of his trauma with his own efforts, and that would allow Donggu to beat Byungtae. If Donggu keeps quiet, then he will still be the target of bullies, and he will continue to live with his trauma. Donggu immediately felt excited when he heard Jin's super sentence, and he put his stance back up to get back at Byungtae and treat his trauma. Byungtae grabbed Donggu's hair, but Donggu's anger was at its peak. At that time, Donggu immediately took off the wig that had been covering part of his head, and that made Byungtae confused. Donggu's appearance now looks like a real sumo wrestler. Armed with the skills he got from the game, Donggu immediately hit Byungtae's body at high speed, which made Byungtae no longer have a chance to counterattack. Byungtae immediately fainted as soon as Donggu there shouted proudly, because he was finally able to defeat Byungtae with his own hands. Jin was happy because Donggu was finally able to beat Byungtae. The system informed that the slave's control over Donggu released on its own because Donggu fought Byungtae on impulse, not on orders from Jin. Jin finally managed to complete the mission of defeating Byungtae, and in return he got a reward in the form of coins, XP increase, and level increase to level 2. He was finally given access to see the items that can be purchased and used in battle. Donggu suddenly volunteers to help Jin defeat another bully. The level increase that occurs with Jin makes the game system open a new game mode. Besides catching bullies, he can recruit someone to be an assistant or someone who helps him when fighting. Jin asked if Donggu really wanted to join him, because this would be very risky and could endanger Donggu himself. Donggu didn't mind that he realized that he had to fight back when someone bullied him. Jin and Donggu also agreed to work together. The genie also didn't forget to make Byungtae a slave before he ran away. Meanwhile, in another place, Kang Woo is hiding from the genie in the attic of the school. He deliberately ties himself up tightly so that when Jin calls his name, he can't get there. Kang Woo's efforts were indeed successful, but Jin was not stupid. While talking to himself, Kang Woo was shocked, because the attic door opened by itself. He saw someone coming, and he turned out to be Kim Byungtae. Kang Woo was happy because finally, he would be saved by his best friend. But unfortunately, Byungtae has also become a slave, and the genie is behind him. Jin was angry with Kang Woo, who could tie himself up and didn't want to obey his orders. But Jin didn't feel worried because at this time, Kang Woo couldn't do anything. So Jin returned to putting the slave chain on Kang Woo's neck without bothering to beat him. Jin finally had 2 slaves that he could command as he pleased. Now all he has to do is clean up the remains of other bullies at school. The story then shifted to the classroom. Suji felt strange about the condition of the class this morning because there was a lot of noise going on. He asked his friend if there was anything he had missed. Then his friend replied that Jin had been acting strange and challenging the troublemakers, and then he was taken to the toilet by them. Suji was surprised, and he asked why they didn't report to the teacher. His friend answered casually, because if it was a matter of reporting, someone would have reported it at that time. Jin came to class and confused the students because he came in fine. Jin called attention to all class children, while accompanied by the arrival of Byungtae and Kang Woo, while carrying the bullies. Classmates were shocked when they saw this. Jin explains that starting today he will not allow bullying to happen in school. The bullies will be punished and will have to do many things to make amends for them. They must apologize to the victim and compensate the student they bullied before. In the hope that the school situation will be peaceful, the punishment will take effect right away. They start doing what they used to do to victims of bullying. They knelt apologizing, gave money that so far had been obtained from the proceeds of nutmeg, ran around the field, slapped themselves in the face, and cleaned the classroom. They were treated like prisoners or like citizens doing community service. The girls in the class were amazed by the changes that had occurred because of Jin. At this point, they just realized that the genie looks cute and good-looking when you think about it. Suji joined in with his voice and complimented that the genie fits the word cool rather than cute. Susie's friends were immediately shocked because Susie said it wholeheartedly, as if Jin was her boyfriend. And that made her friends suspect that Susie was actually attracted to and has a crush on Jin. Suji started to get embarrassed and said that he was just praising the ordinary and nothing happened between them. After school hours, Jin gathered the bullies together and stated that he thanked them because we did community work today. He allowed them to go home, but he also reminded that this community service will continue until tomorrow and beyond. At that time, Kang-woo intended to go home too, but Jin held him back from going home while pinching his ears. Jin told Kang-woo to stay at school because he wanted to punish Kang-woo, who had run away and hid from him. Jin wanted to teach Kang-woo a lesson so he wouldn't run away again. As punishment, Kang-woo had to stand in front of the crowd while wearing pink women's leggings and acting like a fashion model. Besides that, Jin told Kang-woo to go buy bread wearing those pants. Kang-woo honestly didn't want to go there because there was a woman he liked there. And when he got there, the woman greeted Kang-woo. But when he saw Kang-woo dressed and acting ridiculous like that, the woman was shocked and kicked Kang-woo out roughly even before Kang-woo paid for the bread he bought. Kang-woo felt embarrassed. For what happened to him just now, he was 100% sure that the woman he liked earlier would not want to see her face again. Kang-woo then gave the bread he bought just now to Jin, but the genie got angry and threw the bread in Kang-woo's face because the bread he bought was wrong and not what he wanted. Jin treated Kang-woo that way because he wanted to avenge all the crimes that Kang-woo had done to him. After being tired all day telling Kang-woo to do silly things, Jin was bored and wanted to do something more challenging. He thought with his abilities he could recruit anyone to work with him. He can recruit more people like Donggu, and it is not impossible for him to be on top. With that in mind, he decides to find other bullies and victims of bullying to recruit. Jin then walked through the streets in the outskirts of the city to find the presence of bullies. He kept running, looking right and left until he arrived at the enemy base. He found a number of people who were categorized by the game system as criminals. They are having fun hanging out and chatting. They are a city crime game led by a bald man named Kang Dupei. The game system then explains that the background of Dupei's life in the past can already be seen. Jin also disclosed this information so that he would have an idea of how depraved Dupei's treatment was of the victims he bullied. It was told that during junior high school there was a student named Jinggu. At that time, Jinggu was walking casually to a place, but Dupei came to greet Jinggu, and suddenly he hit Jinggu. Jinggu fell and was in pain, asking what he was doing because he felt he had no problem with Jinggu. Dupei's other friends also came. Dupei and his friends then made a bet. They bet on who can make Jinggu scream in pain the loudest, then he will be the winner. Jinggu, who is still in pain, begs Dupei not to make her a bet, but it's too late. Jingu's friend had already hit Jingu's body, so that he fell again and his scream was quite loud. Not wanting to be outdone by his friend, he asked Jingu if he was feeling sick, a very, very surprising question. To win Dupei's bet, he turns Jingu over, and he sadistically breaks his leg with his bare hands. Jingu screamed louder, and Dupei won the bet. Meanwhile, Jingu has to endure lifelong suffering because his legs become permanently paralyzed, and he has to give up his dream of becoming a soccer athlete. Dupei was reported to the authorities for the criminal act. After Jin saw the information, he felt sure that this Dupei was unforgivable, and that he should be punished immediately for his actions. Jin then shouted, calling Kang-woo's name, and moments later Kang-woo appeared before them. Dupei felt uncomfortable because there were uninvited guests and asked who you were. Jin replied that he was Kang-woo, where Kang-woo was his slave. If Kang-woo was offended and embarrassed to be called a slave, but he seemed to be able to accept it a little by saying that he only needed to defeat this bastard and go home. Dupei and friends laughed at Kang-woo. They thought that Kang-woo and Jin didn't know who they were dealing with. Then Jin replied that they were a bald gang, and Dupei was angry at hearing that name. Dupei and his friends threatened to beat up Jin, and Dupei said that he would break Jin's legs right away so that he would suffer the same fate as Jingu. Jin pays attention to the bully's strength ranking, and Dupei is in rank A while his men are in rank B. Meanwhile, Jin has prepared his best shield, namely Kang-woo with rank AAA, who intends to avenge all his anger and annoyance to the dupei gang. It didn't take long for Kangwoo to beat all of his men. He basically could beat all with just one punch. They all immediately fell. The strength they had was certainly not comparable to the strength and skills possessed by Kangwoo. Dupei was the only person left who had not been beaten by Kangwoo. Dupei started to worry, but he put on a brave face and stepped forward to challenge Kangwoo to start attacking Kangwoo. Even though the punch hit Kangwoo, it seemed that the punch was nothing for Kangwoo. Because Dupei's blow was not felt at all, without going into length, Kangwoo made Dupei battered. Dupei raises his hand and begs for forgiveness because he can't stand fighting Kangwoo anymore, who he thinks is too strong. Dupei admits he was wrong, and he demands that the fight stop. All the oppressors finally Jin subdued, and they are all under his control. Now Jin starts to eat them one by one, and then a notification with game mission pops up, saying that Jin can get coins and prizes if he hands over Kang Dupei and his minions to the police. But the genie doesn't want this to end quickly. While putting on an evil face, Jin thought of other ways to make these criminals give up so they wouldn't bully them anymore. Jin ordered Dupei to stand up and reveal all the crimes he had committed. Dupei admits that he was involved in many criminal cases, such as motorbike theft, acts of violence, and also the special case where Dupei broke Jingu's leg. Jin was very surprised because Dupei's actions were more sadistic than Kangwoo's. Everyone was ordered to stand up and they were ordered to beat Dupei simultaneously. Jin also told Dupei to become a toy car with Jin riding Dupei's body so crazy. Next, Jin ordered everyone to line up facing backwards. Jin wanted to kick the can so that it hit their bodies. And another fun punishment is Jin drawing on Dupei's face like a clown. Dupei wants to escape from this bad luck, but he doesn't know how because his body moves against his orders. Jin said that he gave all of these punishments to avenge all Dupei's past actions, as well as to avenge what Dupei had done to victims of bullying in the past. Jin also informed them that their punishment had been completed, so they looked very happy, because Jin had finished pranking them, and Dupei intended to get out of town, so he wouldn't meet Jin again. Unfortunately, Jin couldn't let them go to breathe free air and make trouble in the following days. Jin said that it was time for them to serve the real punishment. Dupei and the other friends put on confused faces because they thought that their business with the genie was finished, but it turns out they were tricked. Jin said that he was just playing around, and he thought Dupei and his friends should be punished by the authorities for the crimes they had committed. Jin wants to avenge the pain suffered by their victims by throwing them into prison. Jin also made an order for them to come to the police station and confess all their actions. Jin was relieved that he had completed today's mission. Meanwhile, Kangwoo wanted to think that Jin's actions were very cruel. Notifications also informed that Jin had successfully completed the task and got coins, and Jin had leveled up to level 3. Jin was happy that he was able to solve his problem with Kangwoo and the delinquent Dupei, and now there is only one other bully in his class that he still has to deal with, suspended for his actions. The next day, Jin ordered Kangwoo and the other bullies to work in class as usual. Suddenly, the classroom door opened, and everyone who was having their own busyness was surprised by the person who came in front of them. The stranger smiled evilly, as if he had just been released from prison. It turns out that this person is Han Taehyuk, one of the most feared bullies at school, who is known to be cruel, and is Jin's enemy too, because he was the first person to bully Jin. He seems to be involved in a fatal case that gets him suspended from school, but returns before the deadline due to influence from his father. Jin looked at Han Taehyuk with a vengeful face, while Taehyuk was there holding Suzy, which made Jin didn't like it. Jin ordered Han Taehyuk to get away from Suzy, but Han Taehyuk, who looked relaxed, immediately said that Jin had no right to order him. Jin was surprised because from the observation of the game, in his body Han Taehyuk had an S rank, a higher bully power than Byungtae or Kangwoo. But judging from the status of Taehyuk's strength, and Kangwoo's strength is almost the same, the difference is that Taehyuk has a martial skill, namely boxing, while Kangwoo does not. Even though his strength was superior to Kangwoo's, Jin didn't want to back down just like that. After all, he had 2 bodyguards he could rely on. Jin then ordered to attack Taehyuk first. Taehyuk was surprised because he himself didn't expect his friend to attack suddenly. Unfortunately, Taehyuk's boxing skill was very good, and within seconds they were knocked down and defeated by Taehyuk. Jin didn't expect Byungtae to lose so quickly. Jin also felt that he had been careless in making the decision to attack Taehyuk without preparation. He told Kangwoo to back off and not fight Taehyuk for fear that something bad would happen. Jin started to panic because he knew he wasn't ready to beat Taehyuk right now. To overcome this, Jin said in front of Taehyuk that he was just doing a prank and wanted to give a sweet surprise to welcome Taehyuk. The other students in the class were shocked to hear Jin's words. They didn't expect that Jin had only been doing a trick. Deep down, Jin was forced to do the play, so he could figure out how to beat Taehyuk. Kangwoo felt stressed because Jin was acting again. Jin told Kangwoo and Byung-tae to agree with Jin's words that they were acting on purpose to give them strength. Taehyuk was relieved because he didn't think that loser Jin would be causing trouble in class. As a result of this pretense, the genie had to bear quite heavy consequences. He was again made into a bamboo slave by the bullies, especially by Taehyuk himself. He was told to buy food by Taehyuk, became a chair for Taehyuk, and ate the bread Taehyuk gave him in a dog-like style. Jin vented his frustration at the humiliation he received to Kangwoo. He said that Kangwoo's power status couldn't match Taehyuk's power status. He felt jealous of that. But in the end, Jin had to find a way for Kangwoo to have equal strength with Taehyuk. Jin started to think about the right strategy to beat Taehyuk. He then opened the game shop and looked at the game items there. Maybe there were some items that Jin could use against Taehyuk. But unfortunately, the coins that Jin has are still lacking. Taehyuk suddenly contacted Jin and told him to buy bread. While on the way to class and was about to give the buns, Jin was intercepted by his classmate. They were both angry because Jin tricked and toyed with them. Jin felt he didn't have time to deal with the two of them, so he called Byung-tae and Kangwoo to beat up the two barrier boys. A moment later, Jin receives a mission notification to defeat the bullies, and if successful, he gets thousands of coins which are considered very large and enough to buy some quite expensive game items. He can get a higher number of coins if he completes the mission faster than the allotted time. Jin was very optimistic that he alone could beat the bastards in less than the allotted time. That way, he could upgrade Kangwoo's strength and buy the essential item in the game shop to defeat Taehyuk. Jin told Kangwoo that he still had a chance to beat Taehyuk. Kangwoo was happy to hear that he also asked what he should do. The genie there replied that Kangwoo only needed to defeat 50 people in 3 days to increase his strength. Kangwoo felt angry hearing that, and he said that of course it was very hard. He thought finding 50 people in 3 days was easy. Jin himself remained calm. He had prepared bait from his classmates to lure other bullies out so that it would be easier for them to fight other bullies without having to bother looking. Jin and Kangwoo started carrying out missions and hunting down bullies near their school. Kangwoo said that if he really had to fight all the bullies alone, he also asked why Jin didn't order Donggu or Byung-tae to help make the mission go faster. Jin also said that he had bought a grow booster item that could increase Kangwoo's physical strength and stamina. That item was very expensive, and it was better to be used by one person than to be shared among Donggu and Byung-tae. A few moments later, the genie and Kangwoo began to find the bullies. The longer Kangwoo fought and defeated the bullies, the growth in his strength increased, although not too big so that he didn't feel it was getting late. Jin and Kangwoo feel tired in carrying out the mission. It was known that in less than 1 day, Jin and Kangwoo were able to defeat 40 bullies. He only needed 10 more bullies to be defeated, and the genie said that the effect of the grow booster item had run out and they should continue the mission tomorrow. Even if he didn't get enough coins a lot, Jin began to use the coins to upgrade the power level of Kangwoo's body. He also bought 3 secret items that he would use to beat Taehyuk, but it wasn't enough. He still needs 1 more item where the coins he has are not enough. He has to beat other bullies to add coins that can be used to buy these superpower items. Kangwoo, who seemed amazed by Jin's seriousness to beat Taehyuk, tried to make small talk. He asked why Jin was so ambitious to want to beat Taehyuk, considering that Taehyuk was strong enough while Jin was a weak person. Jin began to tell stories. So when he was still in elementary school, Jin was known as a family that was lacking, even though he realized he was poor. Jin had many friends, and he was close to them. Until one day Jin's life changed, since he met Taehyuk. Taehyuk is a transfer student from another school, and Jin isn't very close to him. Until one day Jin sees Taehyuk getting angry at Suji, whom he has known since elementary school. It is not known what issue Suzy and Taehyuk were arguing about, but Taehyuk looked so angry that he pushed Suzy to the floor. Jin said that he was protecting Suzy, who was almost hit by Taehyuk. Taehyuk was surprised to see Suzy defended and felt uncomfortable with Jin's presence. He felt this Jin was interfering too much in his personal affairs, and after that bad things happened, Taehyuk who warned the kids in class to stay away from Jin, because if not, then Taehyuk would not hesitate to hurt them. Since then, Jin began to be ostracized by his friends. He was rarely invited to play or go to school together. Jin's friends had to do that because they were afraid that Taehyuk would beat them up. The long-term consequence was that Jin was not allowed to talk to Suzy anymore, and Suzy said that Taehyuk would not bother Jin anymore if they stopped talking, and Jin stopped caring. Jin felt relieved because he was free from Taehyuk's bullying, but still, during school, Jin was always ignored by his friends. Hearing that, Kangwoo felt a little sympathetic and felt guilty towards Jin. He apologized to Jin, but Jin didn't need the apology because it had already happened. Jin was more focused on thinking about how to get Suzy and himself to be friends again as before. Jin's last goal was to express his feelings for Suzy and hoped she could be his girlfriend, but that wasn't easy because he had to get rid of Taehyuk first. Kangwoo quite understood Jin's will, but he also felt a little annoyed because in the end, Jin did all this for the sake of a woman who might not be his soulmate. On the way home, Kangwoo asked if Jin really got hold of Suzy that easily. Kangwoo suggested that Jin shouldn't be overconfident for fear that he'd be hurt in the end. Jin was angry to hear that, and he didn't accept being belittled. He said that he was sure he could do it. Why did Kangwoo have to interfere anyway? Kangwoo didn't listen to Jin's words, but suddenly Jin was shocked when he saw something in front of him. Jin saw Suzy, and it looked like she was talking to someone. Kangwoo said that Suzy probably already has a boyfriend and they are spending time together at the moment. When Kangwoo and Jin approached Suzy, they were both surprised because Suzy was in the middle of talking with Taehyuk. From the look on his face, Taehyuk looked angry and said harshly to Suzy, "I don't know what the two of them were talking about." Taehyuk suddenly pushed Suzy, saying that Suzy had to stop worrying about him, and Taehyuk told Suzy to leave quickly before her anger escalated. Jin didn't seem to accept that his idol was being mistreated like that. Kangwoo, who heard what Taehyuk and Suzy were talking about, suggested to Jin to stop chasing Suzy and just look for another woman. But suddenly the genie put on a serious face with tears in his eyes, and he told Kangwoo to get ready. Kangwoo didn't understand what Jin was talking about, but when Taehyuk was walking away from Suzy, he was immediately surprised, because now he knew that he would definitely be ordered to fight. Taehyuk stopped walking, and when he turned around, Jin approached him with a face full of anger. Kangwoo said to back off and fight another time when everything was ready. But Jin was stubborn and didn't want to hear it with a scared tone. There, Jin also said that now he wanted to invite Taehyuk to fight. Taehyuk was surprised by the change in Jin's attitude, who suddenly acted as if he wanted to fight one-on-one. Taehyuk looked at Jin and agreed to his request. He wanted to know if Jin's strength was comparable to his courage to fight or not. Inside, Jin actually felt unsure of his decision to do a one-on-one fight. Jin realized that he shouldn't meddle in other people's matters and would rather just ignore them. But he challenged Taehyuk because he was annoyed with Taehyuk's behavior towards Suzy that made him cry. Jin felt unacceptable for Taehyuk's treatment of Suzy like before. He couldn't bear to see Suzy cry. Taehyuk, who was standing there, looked surprised when he saw Kangwoo, who was actually advancing. Jin ordered Kangwoo to take his place against Taehyuk. Seeing this, Taehyuk said that he thought the person who would duel with him would be Jin himself, but it turned out that Jin was just a big mouth. There, Kangwoo looks very lazy to do this fight because he should go home and rest at home. Besides, today he has spent a lot of time fighting against 40 bullies. Kangwoo was nervous because he was a little worried whether this impromptu battle would be a success or not. Jin started to open the first item and bought a skill copying camera owned by the enemy. Once this camera was pointed at Taehyuk, Jin could duplicate Taehyuk's boxing skill. Jin can give the copy of the skill to Kangwoo after successfully copying all the moves from Taehyuk's boxing skill. Jin transfers the skill data into Kangwoo's body. There, Kangwoo seemed to feel a tremendous difference from his original body condition. Kangwoo started to adopt the posture of a legend-level boxer. Taehyuk put on a surprised face because he knew very well that style was the hallmark of a boxer. Taehyuk felt intimidated by Kangwoo's arrogant attitude. Taehyuk also put on the style of a boxer, and without lingering, he immediately attacked. Taehyuk attacked Kangwoo's arm until he felt wince in pain.